This conference will now be recorded.
So I will log into my AWS account. From that, I'm going to create a new mission. We are going to launch a new mission. On the new mission, we are going to set up the Jenkins and we'll see the concepts. So let me go to the EC2 service. Then we'll create an instance, right? So but as discussed, Jenkins is an integration tool, or Jenkins is a build tool, right? With the help of the Jenkins, we can do many tasks. Like one of the tasks are nothing but your continuous integration, continuous deployment process, and the other task can be your automations, right? So now here, what is an automation? What is a CI/CD? Right? So CI/CD will be a process. That is a process which is a combination of some set of tools. That's what the CI/CD. Continuous integration, continuous deployment. We'll see anyway in our class. Then what is the automation here? Right? A simple example here. So I am working on the production support project. Right. So now here, what will happen when the application is running on the servers? The logs or the temporary files it is going to generate, right, based on the events or based on the transactions or whatever the things are happening on the application side. In the background on the server side, it is going to generate the temp files, local files, logs, something like that. So now when the files are getting created, like the temp files are getting created, it is going to occupy some amount of memory or CPU, something like that. So by that time, we are going to see some latency from the application side, right? So then by that time, what we need to do here is let's go and clean up the content, the caching, right? Then again, the application will be as usual. It will be back to the normal, right? It will be a very rare situations, not like regularly you need to clean up the cache and other things, right? But yes, so some point of time, your application may not respond properly with this kind of criteria. So then what we need to simply need to go to the particular locations wherever these temp files or local files are going to create for the application. Go to the locations and clean up it. It's a very easy job, right? So just you need to connect to the server and go to the folder or point to the folder, run the rm-rf command. That's it. The content is going to delete. Very easy job. But when you need to clean up, that is not in our hand, right? When you are going to clean up, right? When the performance of the application, when the server is not responding properly, then you need to clean up. Maybe morning time or night time, right? So you are going to receive the request from the client side, like customer side, like or you are going to get the tickets like application performance is not good, the server is not responding properly. Then you need to take an action of. This is one part of action. It's not like if you clean up everything, then it's going to up. No, it's not like it's a kind of one kind of action. Maybe we are going to give a trial, like let's first clean up the content and see is responding properly or not. If it is responding properly, then good. Otherwise, you need to figure out the other issues. Right. So now this is an activity we need to do when we are going to receive a request like server performance is not good or application is not responding properly. That can be at any point of time, because we are working on the production support. Production support means, you know guys, right? 24/7 we need to be available, right? Shifts will be running, right? Now on the shifts, the people have to monitor the application. So now this activity, who is going to perform, right? So now here the activity is very, very simple activity, just running a command. Means you can give this activity to the freshers, correct? You don't require a senior person is required to run this activity. But the problem is, if I'm going to give the activity to the freshers, if they went like the first step will be connect to the server where the application is running, then delete it. Now if I give an access to the server to the freshers, there is a chance of they are going to delete some other part also, because they don't know what is a local, what is a temp, what is an application, what is service, what is the process, right? They don't know. I will, they're freshers. Now if I give something, if by mistake if they delete some other thing, then that's it, right? So now we cannot take that kind of risk. But the activity is very simple, right? For the even though it is simple activity, you cannot give that activity to the freshers. There the automation comes into the picture, right? So maybe because 2 o'clock they will ask us to clean up the content. My shift is morning 9 to 2 o'clock, afternoon 2 o'clock. It came at early morning 2 o'clock. That by that time we are not going to available. The freshers, like the third shift or the second shift, who are there, they are going to monitor the system. So now here, this kind of activities, what we can do, we are going to create a shell scripts or Python scripts. What are the scripts to clean up the activities? That script you are going to trigger by using Jenkins. So now you are not going to, as a human, we are not going to log into the server. We are going to give an access to the Jenkins. Now the Jenkins is going to connect to the servers. Now simple, I am going to create a job. Now the job purpose is, whatever the machine I want to connect the machine, and whatever the actions, the commands which I want to run, place the commands. That's it. It's going to connect the server and it's going to remove the content. So now there we are in a secure way, so that you are not going to connect to the servers, then you are not going to do any kind of manual process. So now that that script can be run by anyone. Simple, they need to do just a click. So likewise, the Jenkins can be used for your automation tasks also. Right. So many areas, the Jenkins will be very, very helpful for us. Right. So that we don't require to be an expert to handle the situations. A expert can write a script, then the scripts can be integrated with the Jenkins. Now the Jenkins will take care. Now simply I'm going to click on the job, like that. So like that our day-to-day life become very, very easy when you are good with the scripting, and when you are good with the this kind of automations area, then you can integrate with the Jenkins. Right. So as a DevOps guy, our responsibility is the same. You should not make a dependencies. You have to be in a transparency. You have to create the steps wherever the automation requires, create the steps and give it to the people, like that. Right. So now we'll see. I will show you some examples that side also. Right. So now here, our main focus of the DevOps is continuous integration, continuous deployment. Further, the build tool, that is the main focus on the Jenkins. But these are the extra things which we can handle with the Jenkins also. Right. So now here I have connected to my AWS account. Then I'm going to launch instance. So I'm going to take the Amazon provided emails. No extra steps I'm going to take. Simply I'm going to click on review and launch. Acknowledge, launch. Right, this is my Jenkins server. So I'm going to give the name as Jenkins. Right, you can see it is running. Now go to the connect button and take the example, copy, and you can go to a git bash. Yes. Switch to root. I am the default user, EC2 user. EC2 user, right? I am going to switch to admin root. Now I am in the root. Right. So now here, so this is a plain Linux machine. Now on this machine, I want to set up Jenkins. Right. So now the prerequisite is for the Jenkins, Java is required. Also, the Java version should be 1.7 or plus. So that is the minimum requirement for the Jenkins. So now here we are going to install the Java first, then followed by Jenkins. So now I am going to install 1.8.0, 1.7 plus. You can take the version of the Java. So now here the Java JDK. JDK is installed. Then development kit. If I give -y, it is not going to ask me whether go ahead or not. It will go ahead by default. Now development kit and OpenJDK both are downloaded. So now here Java version, if I give, there you can see the Java version 1.8.0. Now the Java is ready. Right? As we discussed in yesterday class, the environment variables, correct? So now the environment variables are two types. One is user level and the second one is system level. Every user will be having their own profile files, nothing but batch profiles. If I want to configure the environment variable for the user level, we need to open this file, add that environment variables. Right? If I want to configure to system level, right? What is the difference between user level and system level? So now the Shankar, the root guy, the root can access the Java if I set up on the user level called batch profile. Now the Shankar logged into the system. He cannot, because I have configured with the root level, the root user level, not with the Shankar user. Right? So now whoever is using the system, every person wants to work with the Java, because Java is common for everyone, not for the user level. So there we are going to set up on the system level so that any user can use the Java. Use means work with the Java. Right. So now here we are going to set up the environment variable. Instead of on the user level, we are going to set up on the system level. So now the system level location will be, right, etc is the directory. Under the etc we are going to see a file called profile. So this is the file for the system level configuration. Bash profile is for the user level. Under the user, it is a hidden file. Under etc you are going to find a file called profile, that is for the system level. Anyone can work with the Java, whoever is going to work on the same system. Right. So now what is an environment variable? Right. So now when I want to work with the Java, right, wherever the Java is located, I need to go to that location. From that location, I need to run the commands, the Java respective commands. Right. So now here the Java is installed somewhere, cd user local, and anywhere we'll see, or else let me check the path. Sorry, not the local, lib, cd user, cd lib, and here you can see JVM, Java 1.8.0. So under that user lib, the Java is installed. Right. So if I go to the Java JVM, right, so these are the JRE runtime file, and this is the OpenJDK file. So this is the location from where I can run the Java user lib Java JVM. So now when I want to work with the Java, always I need to point this location. Right. So now that is somewhat difficult for us, right? So From any location, I want to run the Java, not like I need to go to always this location. Right. So that is the where the environment variables comes into the picture. So now when the environment variable, you are going to point the home location of the Java and the runtime location of the Java runtime environment GRE. Any service, not only for Java, any service. Yeah. So right. So now here when you configure the environment variable, now system will take automatically. When the moment you are trying to run suppose Java C, Java compilation. Right. So now when I give the Java file, then automatically it's going to point to the Java location, the system, by using the environment variables. So now here, when I want to check the environment variables, right, the system environment variables, if I want to see, env is the command on the Linux side. Now these are all the environment variables. When I am going to refer the path, so now this is the path the system is going to refer when I'm going to use the path. When I'm going to refer the username, right, default root, it is going to refer the root. Sudo user, ECT user, like that. These are the default system defined variables, environment variables, shell, bin bash, like that. So now here we are going to add our variables also to communicate with the Java. Right. So now here the Java environment variables are Java underscore home and Java, JRE underscore home. These are the two Java environment variables. Right. So now these two variables are nothing but one is the home location and one is the Java runtime environment location. Right. So now let's configure these variables, nothing but to point to the installation location of the Java, then place these variables in the system profile file under etc profile, system environment variables under etc profile file, so that every user can use the Java, every user can work with the Java. Right. So for that, I am going to run these commands: environment variable, Java home, and JRE home. Right. So now the best practice is always when you are trying to touch the system configuration files, better to take the backup always, so that if something went wrong with the changes, immediately we can bring the previous version into current. Otherwise, it is a mess for us, right? So that is the reason for the sake of best practice, taking the profile file. Profile file is nothing but our system defined environment variables file into a backup file called profile underscore backup for separate side. Right. So now here cd etc. If I go to the etc directory, there we can find the profile file. This is what the profile file. So this is what some system defined content is there. Now I'm going to append my variables here. Right. So now before going for the append, I'm going to take the backup. Sudo copy etc profile and profile backup. Now if I go to the etc directory again, there I can see a new file will be created with the name profile underscore backup for the same file. Now the backup is ready. Right. So now I am going to add the two environment variables in the file called profile. So now here, this is the command to add the Java home variable. Right. So here, right. So T is the command I'm going to use to add the content, right? To append the content, not append the content into the file called under etc the profile file. Right. How we are going to add with the help of TE command -f to append. Don't overwrite, append the data. Which data you want to append? This is the one. This is the one I want to append. Nothing but my Java home variable, and this is the path of the Java home. Usually just now we have seen, right? So now this command, nothing but the variable Java home and the value of the Java home, I want to append into the file called etc profile. So now who is going to take care here? The TE command. Now we know, right? There are two ways. One is with the help of TE command, we can append the data, or we can write the, not the append the data, we can write something into the file, or we can append something into a file. There is an alternate for the TE command, that is redirectional operator. We know both the ways, right? So one is the greater than, to write or override, to append, to greater than. Either way we can use. So now here I have used the TE command. So now there are two commands which we are going to run here. One is the TE command, and second one is the echo. Right? When you want to run two commands in a single shot, there the pipe symbols. Correct? The pipe symbol you are going to use. So now the first command output will be sent as an input to the second command. Now the first command output is nothing but simply I am trying to display message. This message. Now this message will be sent as an input to the TE command. Now what the TE command will do, it will take this line and the line will be added because, sorry, appended, because I have used -a into the file profile. That's it. Right. So let's open the file and see cat etc profile, so that at the end of the file I should see this line. We got it. In the same way, I'm going to append runtime environment also. Java runtime environment JRE_home. Now try to see the file. You are going to see two lines now. One is Java home and the second one is JRE home. Now the environment variables are ready. Those are configured for the Java. Now I want to see whether these variables are applied or not. Right. So if you want to see those values are applied or not, just simply try to display the value of the variable. Right? In our shell, if you want to display the value of a variable, echo is the command, right? To display anything, echo is the command. Now use the variable. Now the shell is not going to understand what I need to do here. Simply it is going to display the Java home. Now my requirement is I want to display the value, not the same variable name as it is. Right? So now to retrieve the value of a variable, the first will be the dollar symbol. Correct? Now enter. Now see, nothing is displayed. Means the value is not assigned to the variable. Here, if I see the output, the meaning is the value of the Java home is not assigned, not mapped to the this variable called Java_home, but it is mapped, but it is not reflecting here. In the background, that is correctly done. The process is correctly done, but here it is not reflecting. So now to reflect the changes, there is one more command called source etc profile, which you need to refresh. I need to refresh the profile file so that whatever the new variables are added, it will be applied immediately. So now this is the command always we need to run when we configure the profile file. Enter. Now try to display the value. Now you can see it, right? So now this is the way we are going to set up the environment variable, either user level or the system level. If I want to go with the user level, under the user you are going to find bash profile. If I want to set up on the system level, simply go to the etc directory. Under that you are going to find a file called profile. There configure it. Done. Now the Java is done. Java is ready. Now the next step will be Jenkins. Right. So now here simple step, Jenkins is a two-step process. One is download the package and second one is run the yum command, yum install command. That's it. Right. So now here I am going to get the Jenkins package from the Jenkins community called package.jenkins.io. From here I am going to get the my Jenkins table package. So now here let me go to this site and I will show you. Copy. I think already we are here. Package.jenkins.io Red Hat stable. This is what the command here is. Red Hat stable. Under that, I am going to pick the Jenkins.repo file. Now, if I go to this site, there you can see if I give the Red Hat stable, the stable package you are going to get by default. If you have any specific version is there, then scroll down. Here you can find all the versions of the Jenkins. Now the latest you can see here 2020 6/17 they have launched 2.235.1-1.1. This is the latest you can find. So now here I am going to take the latest the stable version of the Jenkins with the help of this jenkins.repo. Now download this file into your machine and run the command yum install. So now here I am running the command sudo wget. So now here what will happen? Whatever the jenkins.repo file will be there, so that this file is going to pick the stable version. So now this file I am going to download, not into my current location, not into my current location. I want to download into a specific path, nothing but etc yum.repos.d. Here I want to download. So that is what here the option of with the wget is -o. Nothing but you are going to route the download content into a specific folder, a specific location. So now here yum.repos.d is nothing but when you are trying to run the yum command is for to install the packages for the Red Hat or CentOS, right? Now here when the moment I am going to use the yum command to install the Jenkins, it will fetch for the package, the binary of the Jenkins to install. So now where is going to fetch? In the location called etc yum.repos.d. If the package, if the information is not available, then your yum command is not going to work. So that is the reason this jenkins.repo file we are going to download into yum.repos.d. Enter. Now go to cd etc yum.repos.d. Now here you can find a file called jenkins.repo cat jenkins.repo. Right, this file is nothing but simply is going to point to the package location. That's it. So that when the moment your yum command is going to run, it will connect to the site and it will download the Jenkins stable package, stable version. Right. So now for you guys, if you are trying to install the Jenkins, only the point which you need to focus here is the file download. So people are facing the download issues, nothing but the command. When the moment you run the wget command, you will see this message. It will be downloaded. But when the moment you are trying to run the command yum install, the command is not going to work because it is not able to find the stable package of the file, this content, because this file is not downloaded properly. Now if you are guys are facing the yum install jenkins command issue, simply go to the location yum.repos.d, open the file jenkins.repo. If you see the 4 lines something like that, then we are good. The issue will be some other thing. If you see some kind of special character something, means your file is not downloaded properly. That's it. Now download it again. Download it again. Move it to this folder. Move it to this folder. That's what you need to focus here while installing the Jenkins. So now here I can see I have the correct file with the correct content. So now here I am going to run the command. Okay. So before running the installation command, Jenkins required a key to unlock. To unlock the Jenkins, Jenkins required a key. The key can be downloaded from here with the help of RPM command. So simply run this command straight away, so that the key is going to add it. Enter. So now run the command yum command to install the Jenkins. So yum install Jenkins. So now the Jenkins is going to install on my server, on my machine, on my AWS instance. Done. So now once the service is installed, start the service. Otherwise you cannot use the Jenkins, the application from the browser, right? Or in your current system also. Now service is the command to start any service. Service Jenkins. What is the service name? My service name is Jenkins. Check the status whether it is running or not. It is inactive, dead. Right? Because just I have installed, not started. So now start the service. Jenkins start. Now the service is going to start. Right? So every service, this is a process on the Linux side. If you want to set up any service, download the package, install it, and start the service. Same thing for every services. So now here status, I'm going to check. Now I can see Jenkins is running. Right. So now here the Jenkins will be having a web page application, so that you can access by using the browser also the Jenkins. Right. So let's see how can I access the Jenkins. go to your browser and take the Jenkins machine IP address. This is my Jenkins server and this is my public IP address. Copy it. Then here paste it. By default, Jenkins will be running on the port 8080. Right. So use 8080 to access the Jenkins. This is the default port number of the Jenkins. So now on the AWS side, you are not able to access at this moment because when the moment we launched a new instance on the AWS cloud, by default the port number will be allowed only 22. The 22 is nothing but the SSH. SSH is nothing but to connect your server. Right. So now by default every instance of AWS will allow you to connect the servers. Nothing but the port 22 will be opened. No other ports are going to open. Now here I'm trying to access the port 8080. It will be denied. It will be blocked because only the 22 is allowed. Now we need to change the security group rule. Nothing but I will give the privilege that 8080 can be accessed. So nothing but we are going to add a rule in the security group of the particular system, the instance. Now go to the dashboard again of AWS, right? Select the system, and here I am in the description tab, and here scroll down. There you can see a option called security groups. Now the group name is launch wizard some 39. Some version is going to some number is going to give with the wizard. So now select that launch wizard 39. Now here you can see there is a button called actions, or here also you can find inbound tab. Anything is fine. So now I will go to the actions. I'm going to select edit inbound rules, incoming traffic to the server. As I said, only the 22 will be allowed to connect the server. Now I want to access my Jenkins. The Jenkins will be running on the port 8080. That should be allowed here, so that you can access the Jenkins from this server. Right. So now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a rule here. Now here, instead of giving only the 8080 port number, I'm going to give allow all traffic, so that in future, if I'm going to install some other tool, that tool will be using some other port. Again, I need to add the rule here also. Right, to avoid that kind of situation, simply I'm going to do nothing but allowing all traffic, so that the ports between the 0 to 65,536, any port number I can access. So now here, change the custom to anywhere. By default it will be the custom, and change the custom to anywhere. Simple. This is the one step we need to do, guys. So when you want to access the applications from the server, we need to take care of the adding the security group rule, inbound rule. So now let's go to the browser again.
Sorry, Shankar.
And yes, please.
So I have a small doubt. So you opened all the ports available on the machine. So is this a common practice? And because usually on the Windows machines we don't open the ports, isn't it? So we only open the we need.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Is this
so here, no. This is not. I got your doubt. This is not the common practice. This is not the best practice, or this is not the suggestible practice also. Right? If you open all the ports, means there is a chance of hacking. So now just the port which is required you need to open for the production environment. But here we are doing some kind of testing practice, right? So that is the reason I opened all the ports. So we are not going to any kind of production setup or something, right? This is for our testing sake. But yes, in the so in the real-time environment, always only the correct. Only the particular port has to be opened. Yeah, anyway, this concept we are going to cover in our AWS. Okay, so this is just now for the practice sake, because people are facing some issues. If I said like open 8080, then tomorrow they are going to launch Apache, install Apache. Now they are facing some issue like, sir, I am not able to access Apache. So now to avoid this kind of questions, I ask them to open all the ports.
Okay, yeah, got it. Like, thank you.
Yeah, right. So now I can see here the Jenkins now is accessible. 8080 port is open. The Jenkins is accessible now. So now here I have to unlock my Jenkins. To work with the Jenkins, by default, it will be locked. You need to unlock it. So how we are going to unlock? So now the unlock password you are going to find in this specific location. Under where lib Jenkins, there will be a directory called secrets. In the secrets directory, you are going to find a file called initial admin password. Right. So now to get the password, what you need to do, you need to connect your Jenkins server. Now already I am connected to my server. Right. So now here the where lib Jenkins, this is nothing but the Jenkins user home location. Usually every user home location will be home slash then the username. But for the Jenkins, where lib Jenkins will be the home location. So by default, that is the default configuration. So now here I will go to the where lib Jenkins. Then inside that we can find a directory called secrets. So now here I can see the secrets. Now go to the secrets. There we can find a file called initial admin password. This is the file which referring here. Now open the file. We can see some password here. Now take the password and paste it here. Click on continue. Now here there are two things we are going to observe here. One is suggested plugins, or you have your own plugins. If you have your own plugins, means you have any list, just go with the list, or else I will install the plugins which are regularly we are going to use the suggested plugins. So now here I don't have any plugins as of now in my mind, so I will go with the suggested one. So click on the suggested plugins. So now it is going to install the required plugins, the minimum plugins. These are the plugins it is going to install. One point which we need to observe here is, by default Jenkins is not going to handle anything. Every activity on the Jenkins will be a plugin. What are the activities you are going to do? That is nothing but it is a plugin. So with the help of the plugins, we are going to achieve our tasks, or we are going to complete our requirements. Everything is a plugin in the Jenkins. Right. So now here you can see the plugins are installed. So now to manage the Jenkins server, right? So whatever the server is there where the Jenkins is installed, and this application, right? This application, who is going to maintain, who is the admin here? The admin details is going to ask. So now here I'm going to use my details. Now Shankar is the person who is going to take care of the administration also. Usually we are the persons, DevOps folks only maintaining the servers and managing the application also. No other person is going to take care. Now no admins. Admin's job is gone. So now means we are the persons take care of everything. So now here, now we can see here two options. One is skip and continue as admin, or save and continue. Skip and continue is nothing but I don't want to have a separate user. I will go with the default admin user. So now here the username will be the admin, but the password will be this one. The password, admin, and the password you need to enter. If you guys go with the without any user, without any separate user. So now here if I give any user information, then what will happen? It is going to remove the admin password, initial admin password. Going forward, you have to use your own details like that. So now here I am going to click on save and continue, so that I don't want to use the initial admin password to connect my Jenkins application. Right. So now here by default, this is the path. It's going to show you the Jenkins URL, nothing but the IP address, and followed by the port number. To access this Jenkins application, this is the URL. Right, fine, I'm good with that. Save and finish. So now the Jenkins will be ready. Start using Jenkins. Now this is the Jenkins dashboard, the application dashboard. Right. So now before going with the dashboard, let's try to understand from the server side. there are few directories are there from the server side which are important for us as a DevOps guy. Let's try to understand those things, then we'll come to the application side, right? So now here I will go to the server side and I will go to the Jenkins home location, right? The Jenkins home location will be where lib Jenkins. Go to the home location of the Jenkins. This is the default location when you install Jenkins on any server, where lib Jenkins. Now list ls. There we are going to see some configuration files and few directories, right? So now these are the supported files which we are not going to bother about it. Now here there are some directories are there which are important for us. Out of that, one is the jobs directory, right? So now in the Jenkins, what we are going to do, we are trying to create the jobs. What is a job here? The job is a bunch of actions, a bunch of tasks. We are going right. So now here, whatever the task we are going to execute, those tasks are nothing but in the Jenkins side we are going to call as a job. Now the step of actions. Now I have 4 actions I want to perform. 4 actions: create a file, copy the file, and remove the file. Suppose these are my actions. Now all the actions we are going to place in the job, in the Jenkins job. When the moment I trigger the job, it's going to run whatever the actions you have placed it, like create a file, copy file, delete file, like that. So right. So now going forward, what we are going to do, we are going to create the jobs on the Jenkins. Now the jobs information on the server side you can find inside this jobs directory, right? So as of now, you are not going to see anything because I don't have any job in my dashboard, in my application, right? So now it's a plain. So if I go to the jobs also, we are going to see the plain directory, empty directory, right? Now we'll going forward, when I create the jobs, automatically the jobs information I can find here. Now in the same fashion, logs. If you want to see the logs information of the Jenkins, right? So now the Jenkins is not responding properly, the high utilization of CPU, high utilization of memory, right? So now those details you want to see, right? Where you are going to see in the logs only. Now the logs will be found under the logs directory, the Jenkins log. So then here there is a directory called nodes. The nodes are nothing but, usually the Jenkins will be having a certain limit. The certain limit is nothing but, now my team is a 50 members of team. My project, there are 50 developers are there. It's a some kind of big project. Now the 50 out of 50 developers, uh, regularly at least 10 people are triggering the job. Out of 50, continuously my load of the Jenkins server will be 10 jobs at a time. So now here I have configured my server and I have given the configuration of it can handle 10 jobs parallelly. Now that is fine. So now my load regularly it will be the 10 jobs. So now I have given the configuration of handle the minimum 10 jobs. Now some point of time people are trying to hit 15% or 20% are trying to hit the job. So now beyond the 10, my configuration is not able to handle my server. So now what will happen here? The next, suppose 15 jobs are triggered, the 10 will be go for the execution parallelly. The other 5 will be in the queue. First 10 will be going to the go for the execution. The last 5 will be in the queue until unless one of the jobs are completed in the process, right? So now here I don't want to face that kind of situations, right? Because like a simple example here, I will show you some simple example. So now here this is my Jenkins server, and here I can on my server I can run 3 jobs parallelly. Right, so now job 1, job 2, job 3. Right, parallel I can trigger 3 jobs. My machine can handle this, it can run 3 jobs parallelly without any delay. When the moment 4th job came into the picture, now here it has to be in the queue until unless any one of the job is completed. Right. So now here suppose this first job is the biggest job, 2 hours is going to run, and it is a 1.5 hours, and it is somewhat 1 hour. Now this is my job with 5 minutes. Now this is my production deployment, a fix I am going to deploy. So now what will happen here? By that time, before running this job, by that time already Jenkins is occupied with the 3 jobs. So now this job has to be wait at least 1 hour. This is the minimum time because there are already 1.5 and 2 hours, right? But this is my production deployment. It has to be go. It is the high priority, not these 3. But here, because of the limitation, it cannot be executed until unless one of the job is completed, or you have to kill it forcefully. Any one of the job, right? So if you are killing the forcefully, there is something can be happen. Some crashes can be happen in the middle of the job. You are trying to kill it, right? So now here is the 3 jobs concept. Like suppose tomorrow 10 jobs, 15 jobs, right? How we are going to handle the situation, right? So now there we are going to create separate missions, separate servers. This is my Jenkins server, and this is a separate server. Now this guy is going to connect to this guy. Now this guy also can handle 4 jobs. Likewise, when the load is going to increase, we are going to add the nodes, add the servers to the Jenkins master. So now all the machines together, they are going to distribute the load and the jobs are going to run. Now we are not going to see any kind of delays, something like that. So now these slaves, these nodes information, we can find in the nodes folder directly. We'll see how to set up the nodes in our later classes. So then one more important directory is the plugins, right? As I said, the Jenkins is not going to do any activity by its own. All will be with the help of plugins, right? So now those plugins information you can find under the plugins directory. Now if I go to the plugins, we can see some content because we have installed some suggested plugins. These are the plugins information, right? So now secrets, like the access keys, the admin initial password, the passwords information you can find under the secrets. Anyway, we are not going to touch this much. So then here there is updates and users. Workflow lists are not important much for us. So now one more directory is important for us is users, right? So now the users are nothing but the user information, right? Because the Jenkins is not going to manage by single person called Shankar, right? So the Jenkins server is required for the developers, for the testers, for the security team, for the performance team also, because they want to do their automations. The testers wants to create that automation job, test automation job. Performance team want to create the performance automation job. Right? There also they need the access. The Jenkins access is required for them so that they are going to create their own jobs. Right now here, if I give the complete access to the persons, they can go and they can touch anything. So that is going to mess up everything. Right? We should not give any kind of admin access to the people. We need to give the only the respective areas. Nothing but the testers request only to create the jobs, test jobs. The performance requires the only to create the performance job. That's it. They can modify the performance jobs. They can delete. They can create only to the performance, not to the test jobs, or not to the development jobs, or not to the DevOps jobs, or not to the Jenkins application configuration. We should not give such kind of access to the people. Right? So now these access things, the users information, we are going to find here the users information on the Jenkins side, and accessing, giving the restrictions or giving the access will be managed with the help of plugins. As I said, everything is a plugin in the Jenkins. We'll see how to set up those things later classes. But here the users information on the server side, you can find in this directory, cd users. You can see here Shankar, right? I have created admin called Shankar. The user, the guy information I can find here like that. So now this is from the server side, and let's go to the application side, right? So before going to the application side, one more file we need to observe, one more configuration file, that is the important file for us, right? So now application properties, the main configuration of the Jenkins, the main configuration file of the Jenkins. If I want to do any changes on the application side, where I can do that, right? So now the main configuration file for the Jenkins will be found under etc directory. Under etc directory, you are going to see one more directory called sysconfig. Right now, if you guys observe here, the etc is the main directory for your configuration files, right? I have shown you the profile file, the user's information, sorry, the environment variables. I have shown you the PASSW file, the user's information, right? Somewhere you are going to see the PASSW file also. The groups information you are going to see here, the host information, group information. Now here, our sysconfig, right? Every configuration files you can find under the etc directory. This is the main one actually, right? So now here, let's go to the sysconfig cd sysconfig. Now if I go to the sysconfig, there I can find a file called Jenkins. This is the main configuration file of the Jenkins, right? So what we can do with the Jenkins configuration file? I want to change the home location. By default, Jenkins home location is where live Jenkins, correct? I want to change it. Yes, we can change it. Where? In the Jenkins configuration file, right? I want to change the port number 8080 because on my machine already some other service is running with the same port number. Now two services cannot be run with the same port, otherwise it's a port conflict. System won't understand which service has to be exposed, right? So there, either one of the service port number has to be changed, either Jenkins port number or the other service port number has to be changed, otherwise the port conflict. So now if I want to change the port number of the Jenkins, where can I change, right? So that's what the file is called, the Jenkins configuration file. Let's see how to change a port number. So now here I'm going to open this Jenkins configuration file, vi Jenkins. Now here you can see the properties, Jenkins form. If I want to change the path here, simple. By default is valid Jenkins. So likewise, we are going to see the main properties of the Jenkins. Now if I scroll down, here, somewhere I'm going to see the Jenkins default user is the Jenkins. And you can see somewhere the port number here, right? So the default is the 8080 port number. Now your port number can be between 0 to 65,535. You can give any port number. So now here I want to change the port number. So now you want to change the port number, simple, you have to modify the port number. That's it. Now here I am going to modify the port number, nothing but I want to change the port number 8080 to 9090 or 8080 to 8090, something, some other port number. Now save the file, save the configuration file, right? You have to touch the configuration, means the service has to be restarted, otherwise you cannot see the changes immediately. Now the service is service name Jenkins and restart, right? So now the service is restarted. The service is nothing but the Jenkins service. Now if I try to access the Jenkins with the port number, it is not going to allow me because the Jenkins is now not running with the port 8080. The site cannot be reached, right? Right. So now here change the port number 8080 to 8090, right? Because I have modified the port number. Now see, I can access it. Likewise, we can change the Jenkins configurations from where? In the Jenkins file. The file will be located where? Under etc, there will be a directory called sysconfig. Inside the sysconfig, you can find the Jenkins file. Now I'm going to connect, right? My username is Shankar and the password is Shankar. Right. So this is what from the server side, the concepts. So now let's try to understand the application side. Right. So now these are all the duties for DevOps guys, not only creating the jobs. Everything is our responsibility. So now here, apart from the creation of the jobs, what we are going to do on the application side. Right. So those information you can find in the section called Manage Jenkins. Right. So now in the Manage Jenkins, you are going to see different sections: system configuration, security, and status information, troubleshooting, tools and actions, like that. Right. And out of all the sections, These two are important for us, 1 and 2. The rest of the 3 only for the access sake or something, information sake. Now here, let's see the configure system from the system configuration. Right. So now default on the application side, if you want to set up any default configuration so that every job is going to use the same configuration, default settings can be done on the configure system of the system configuration. Let me open it here. Here you can see some properties and some connectivity strings, timestamper, global build discarder, GitHub sections, some global parameters, email concept, email communication, email notification, something like that. Right. So now majorly the system configuration will be using for some default configuration for every job, and also your tools connectivities. Your tools means, suppose I want to connect to the Sonar Cube, right? Because right now when you are trying to set up the continuous integration, continuous deployment, in the process, code quality is also one of the check in the process. Now how we are going to check the code quality? With the help of Sonar Cube. Now here you should not go to the Sonar Cube, go and check there and come here, not like that. Your process has to be taken care of everything. Your job is to just integrate one and each other, right? So now you need to integrate the Sonar Cube with the help of Jenkins, not with the help of Sonar Cube with the Jenkins, so that your Jenkins is going to take care of the Sonar Cube also. Now how we are going to integrate, how we are going to communicate the Sonar Cube with the Jenkins, here you are going to give the information. Integrations will be done on the configuration side. System config. We'll see how to set up all the stuff, but try to remember, if you want to integrate any tools on the Jenkins side, now under the manage configure system is the area, the section, right? So likewise, there will be one more section called global tool configuration. Now this global tool configuration is nothing but on the Jenkins server, if you want to run any commands, not the Linux commands, if you want to run any specific tools commands, right, those tools has to be installed on the Jenkins server to run the specific tools commands. As an example, I want to run the Maven build pages where on my Jenkins server. If you want to run the Maven build pages on the Jenkins server, the prerequisite is Maven has to be installed on the server. Otherwise, you cannot run the Maven commands, correct? So now who will take care of this job? Installation of Maven on the Jenkins server. DevOps guy or admin, right? So now here we are the persons will go to the Jenkins server and will install the Maven. Yesterday we have seen how to set up the Maven, right? That is one kind of process, nothing but manually installing the tools on the Jenkins server. The second way is automatically install the tools. Who is going to take care? Jenkins is going to take care. Now you don't require to install manually the Maven. You are going to tell the Jenkins install the Maven. Now the Jenkins will be taken care. Where I need to provide the information so that your Jenkins is going to install the respective tools. That's what the global tool configuration. We'll see. I'm going to show you every section. Okay, just try to understand the sections, right? So system configuration is the one. If you want to integrate any other tools with the Jenkins, that's what the configure system. If you want to install any tools, install the tools, guys. Here the server to server integration will be configure. Installation will be under the global tool. That's what you need to understand. Don't confuse here. Okay, right? So now if you want to install the tools, global tool. Then the plugins, right? The plugins are nothing but, right? So whatever the activities you want to perform, by default Jenkins will not be having any kind of capability to run the activity. It requires a plugin, right? So those plugins information, nothing but installation of the plugin, removing of the plugin, updating of the plugin, everything you are going to do on the manage plugin section, right? Then here the nodes, right? The nodes are nothing but, just now we have discussed about the slaves. When the capacity of the server is beyond, the jobs has to be triggered, right? You should not be in the queue. There we are going to add extra servers to the my Jenkins master. How we are going to add? From this section. So these four are important for us. Our day-to-day life, we are going to touch with we are going to work with these four sections. This is very less, but these three are the very important for us. So now security. From the security side, right? Now here, as I said in our in the previous section, means the user management. Right? The developers has to have the development job access. The testers has to have the testers job access, like that. We need to restrict the people so that they can access their own jobs, not the other person's jobs. Right? How we are going to handle the situation? Right? So those things can be handled with the help of global configure global security. Here. Right? So how we are going to handle? I will show you. This is the section. Then credentials. Right? So now here sometimes we require to connect your GitHub accounts or connect your some other accounts. There we require to use the username and passwords. Right? So now here we are not going to connect manually. Your Jenkins is going to connect on behalf of you. Right? So there I should not expose my password. Right? Those are the sensitive data. Right? So now in the Jenkins we can store the sensitive data so that it is not going to expose into the outer world directly. Right? Where you are going to store? That's what the credentials. The sensitive usernames, passwords, keys can be stored in the credentials section of the Jenkins. Right? So this is an extra option. We don't require this one. Then this is the one where we are going to create the users. As I said, right? So now the team will be there. On the team, we will be having the developers, testers, DevOps, performance team, security team. Right? All these people require the Jenkins access. Right? Where you are going to create the users. That's what the manage users. So that you are going to give the access to the users who are going to create on the Jenkins application. Now this is the information area, nothing but if I want to see my Jenkins server information, all the environment variables, the properties, everything, right? Here you can see system properties. And if I scroll down here, and here my plugins, just this kind of information check, environment variables, what are the plugins are installed. Likewise, we can see the complete information about the Jenkins, nothing but the system info. This is the usage. For the information sake, this is when you want to see information about the Jenkins, you can see from the system information. Now these are the logs, right? I have shown you the logs directory from the server side. The logs is the directory from the application side, system log. All the Jenkins logs, right? If you want to see the logs through the GUI, this is the area. You can verify the logs. Jenkins is fully up and running. Right now here, like that. Statistics, monitoring. Right, you can monitor your Jenkins server, how many jobs are running, right? Number of executors, busy executors, available. Executors means I will tell you right now. Right, so here online, how many are available, how many are busy, right? How many are online available, how many are busy, and how many are available. Those information you can find here. The length of the queue. As of now, nothing is running here. That is the reason you are not going to see any kind of statistics here. When the jobs starts running, then you are going to see some info here on the statistics side. Likewise, you can see here about the Jenkins, the version information, simple, right? So now here troubleshooting. When you want to see the old data, right? So something is failed, something is not working. That the data also can be picked up here. Manage the old data. We have a new plugin came into the picture. Then here the tools and actions, right? So now from the tools and actions, we don't require these things. Prepare for the shutdown, reload the configuration from the disk, which are not required for us. Now here these are the two sections. These are also not required for us, but yes, some point of time in the interviews they will ask. Now one is here Jenkins CLI, command line interface, right? So usually when you are going to start working with the Jenkins, the way you are going to use GUI, right? When I want to create the jobs, when I want to do some kind of automation jobs or something, whatever the activities you want to perform, we are going to do from the GUI, right? So now there is an alternate with the GUI is CLI, right? You don't require to connect with the GUI. Simply from the server side, you can do the activities with the help of Jenkins CLI. We'll see. I will show you some example, but yes, it is not we are going to use much. Then this is the script console, nothing but we can write a script so that sometimes you are going to receive ad hoc requests. So for that, you are not going to have the time to go with the process. Immediately, you need to execute it. Right. So now such kind of activities can be done with the help of script console, nothing but it is going to open an editor for us. Here, write the code and directly straight away execute it. You will get the output like that. So like that, ad hoc task can be handled with the help of script console. But here, this script console is going to support the Groovy. If you know the Groovy, then only can use it. Otherwise, it is not for us like that. Right now, these are the sections are there which are important, which are useful for us for the DevOps folks. These are two are very important for us. Right. So now here, apart from the jobs creation, we need to work with the sections also. Most of the time, many issues we are going to face. We need to fix the issues with the help of these sections. Now let's see how to use these sections and how we are going to create the jobs with the help of the sections and how to integrate the other servers, how to integrate the tools, how to install the tools, like all the concepts. Like we'll see one by one. So now here, I want to create a job. I want to create a job on my Jenkins. Right. So now to create a job on the Jenkins, so this is the symbol to go to the dashboard of the Jenkins dashboard. So now I am in the dashboard of my Jenkins. Now if you want to create a job, you can see there is an option called create a job, or you are going to see here a option called new item. Either way you can use this one or this one to create the job. Let's go and click on create a job. Now here it is going to ask you the job name. What is the job here? Set of action, set of tasks. So whatever the tasks you want to execute, right, instead of giving manually one by one, you are going to place in the job so that your job will be taken care of executing all the actions, all the tasks. Right. Again here, the jobs are different types. The jobs are classified into different types. Now those types are nothing but here these things: freestyle, pipeline, multi-config, folder, GitHub organization, and here you can see multi-branch pipeline. Right. So now here, what is a freestyle project? Right. The jobs are nothing but here it is going to call it a project. So now what is a freestyle project is nothing but with the help of the GUI, with the help of the graphical user interface, if you are trying to create a job, that's what the freestyle. GUI creation jobs are nothing but the freestyle jobs. Any plugins, anything it is going to support in the freestyle. Now here, the next one is the pipeline. The pipeline is nothing but we are not going to use the GUI. We are going to write the code. We are going to write the code to create the job. Right. So now here again, the job is set of actions. Right. Now the actions you are going to define inside the job by using GUI with the help of freestyle project. Now the same job I am going to create without using the GUI with the help of a file. That's what the pipeline. Nothing but the code-based jobs. Real time is the pipeline, not the freestyle. Real time you are going to see the pipeline jobs only, not the freestyle job. For the CI/CD, not every job will be the pipeline. Some jobs you are going to see automation jobs, something like those jobs will be freestyle, but your CI/CD process will be in the pipeline, the core. And the multi-configuration project is nothing but when you want to handle different environments like production, testing, like that. So those environments can be handled with the help of multi-configuration project easily. Nothing but we are going to create a single template to handle multiple environments. That's what the multi-configuration project. Then here we are going to see one more style called folder. The folder is nothing but instead of placing all the jobs in a single place, right? If I place all the jobs in a single place, then right, whose job belongs to which team, right? So here there are 100 jobs are there. Now the first job is belongs to the development team, or the testing team, or the performance team, or the some QA team. I don't know. Right? By when the respective person sees the name of the job, then they will tell you, okay, this is my job. So now when I want to modify, when I want to maintain my jobs, I need to go and see the hundreds of the jobs where my job is located. right? So there is a chance of the other person can touch your job. That means they can modify your job by mistakenly. They can delete your jobs also if you place everything in a single place. So now here to avoid this kind of situations and easy maintainability, here you can easily maintain your jobs if you create a separate folder, right? So now here now I'm going to create a folder for the DevOps. I am going to create a folder for the developers. I am going to create a folder for the testers, right? So now when the moment the folders are ready, now the DevOps folks are going to create their own jobs on the DevOps folder, and the testers are going to create their own jobs into the tester folder, so that the DevOps are not going to touch the tester folder, tester jobs, and the testers are not going to touch the DevOps jobs. Easily we can maintain instead of placing all the jobs in a single location. So that is the reason we can have the job segregation by using the folders. Now we have an option called GitHub organization. The GitHub organization is nothing but inside the GitHub organization, right? We have discussed about the organization also, right? When there were different business units are there, now instead of putting all the repositories into the same place, we can create the organization for a separate business unit, like my retail, e-commerce, textiles, insurance, like that, right? So now I can have my repositories. My insurance repository should be on my insurance organization. My textile repository should be on the textile organization, so that I can easily maintain my repositories with the help of organization, right? So now here our Jenkins will be having a capability of it can pull all the repositories, and it can create the job with the help of GitHub organization. In my insurance organization, if there are 100 repositories are there, now the GitHub organization will pull all the 100 repositories, and it will create the 100 jobs for the repositories. Right here, there is a disadvantage, like I don't want to have all the repository jobs. Simply I require only 20 repositories, which are going to use, not the 80 repositories. If I configure the GitHub organization, it's going to pull all the 100. Right. So now that's why GitHub organization we are not going to use much, because whatever the repositories are required for the repositories, we are going to create the jobs, not like entire organization. But yes, we have an option. Then the other style will be the multi-branch pipeline, the project style. So now here, what is a multi-branch pipeline? The multi-branch pipeline is nothing but, right, every repository will be having different branches. That's what we are going to call as a branching strategy, right? So now here in my repository, I will be having a develop branch, I will be having a release branch, I will be having a staging branch, I will be having a master branch, right? So now here we required a separate job for each branch, so that the job will take the code and deploy into the respective environment. My develop branch code will be taken by develop job, and the develop job is going to deploy the code into the develop environment. My release branch code will be taken by the release job, and the release job deploy the code into the release environment, like that. Like that, for each environment you will be having a separate branches. For each branch you are going to have a separate job. Now here, dev, release, staging, master means 4 jobs are required minimum for a repository, right? So now if I have 100 repositories, means 100 into 4, 400 jobs I need to create. It's a quite time taken process, because if I take a repository, 4 branches will be there. For the 4 branches, you are going to have the same setup, same jobs, and same sections in the sense, same task. You are going to tweak some changes. That's it, right? So now 400 jobs creation is a time taken process. Now here in the Jenkins, it is going to provide an option called multi-branch pipeline, so that you don't require to create a separate job. Simply create a file. A file will be having some steps, the actions. Now place the file in all the branches, so that automatically your multi-branch pipeline will create the jobs for you. You don't need to create a separate job. Okay. So this is one is important for us in the project styles, and these 2 and the folder. These 4 we are going to use in our day-to-day life. Right. So now here, let's go with the freestyle project first. I am going to create a sample job. Just want to see how the jobs are going to work on the Jenkins. Click on OK. So before click on OK, select the style, project style, then click on OK. Now here a freestyle job is a combination of 6 sections. So general, source code, build triggers, build environment, build, post build. Let's see here some important options. There are many options will be there, right? So now here the some important options we'll see, which are required in our day-to-day practice or in a production support. So now here in the general you can see the one called discard old bills. Okay, right? So discard old bills are nothing but, right? So now here this is a job I am going to create, sample job. Now this job is nothing but is going to perform, is going to execute some set of actions, right? So now here when the moment I run the job, it is going to create a history for me. First time when I run, it is going to give me a history called first one history. When I trigger next time, second time, it is going to give the second history. Like that is going to create the history for me for each and every execution. Now daily, suppose daily at least one time I'm going to run this job, means one history is going to generate daily for the job. Now 30 days, 30 jobs, 60 days, 60 jobs. Jobs means the history. Same job, the history, 60 histories. 90 days, 90 history. Like that is going to generate. So here what will happen in the background, unnecessarily the space is going to consume. I don't need the whole data because it's a sample job. That's it. That's it. Right. For that, I don't require to maintain the 90 days or 100 days of the history. Unnecessarily consuming the space. So now what we can do, instead of cleaning the manually, you can set the Jenkins like, you can tell the Jenkins like, once the 10 histories are generated for the job, delete the older one. I want to maintain only the latest 10 executions. 10 execution, not the beyond. So that it is going to maintain always the 10 latest. When the moment 11th come, the old one will be deleted automatically. That's what the discard old bills. We'll see. I'm going to show you this option. Right. So here, when I click on the discard old bills, it is going to give you some options for us. One is how many days of the jobs of the, sorry, not the jobs again. How many days of the executions you want to maintain? Like 10 days executions you want to maintain, 1 week executions you want to maintain, or 100 days. Right. So now here what is the difference here is, suppose in a day I am going to trigger 10 times. Right. So now here daily 10 times means if I keep 7 means 7 into 10, 70. It is a huge number. 70 means. Right. So now here, even though if I'm going to give less number of days, but there is a chance of you are going to run the jobs n number of times. So now here I don't want to go with the 70 executions. I record only the latest 10. That's it. So now here what I can do, I can tell keep the 7 days, take the latest 7 days, but I need only the latest 10 executions out of the 7 also. Out of the 7 days also, in the 7 days 70 execution will be there, but here I want to have only the latest 10, means only one day, like that. Sometimes there is a chance of you are not going to run the job on the particular day, right? There is a chance sometimes it's going to execute, sometimes those are not going to execute, right? So likewise, how many days of the jobs you want to keep, in that also how many bills you want to keep. That's what the discard, which is one of the important option for us. GitHub projects, right? So you can give the GitHub URL so that it is going to connect to the GitHub. Right? Anyway, we are going to connect the GitHub from the source code here, which is not required for us. We can take it light. And here the build requires the lockable resources. This is a future, nothing but you can lock the resource so that no one can touch the resources. A kind of future, this is one, but this is not much useful for us. And this is the one which is useful for us. Nothing but project is parameterized. Right. So whatever the sections we are saying, that is only for the sample job, not for other job. This settings only for the sample job. So now here the project is parameterized, nothing but, right. Sometimes you need to pass input to your jobs. Right. As I said in our previous example, the deletion of content. My servers will be running on different locations. Northern Virginia, Ohio, Asia Pacific. Right. So now here, if you receive the request from the Asia Pacific, you need to remove the content from the Asia Pacific servers. If you receive the request from the Northern Virginia, you need to remove the content from the Northern Virginia server, like that. Right. So now here we are not going to create the 3 jobs to clean up the content. Maintainability will be somewhat difficult, right? You are going to make it difficult if I have the 3 jobs. But yes, you can create the jobs. It's not a problem for us. It's not a stopper for us. Right. So now here to clean up the content for the different locations, what I am going to do, I am going to write a script. My script is nothing but based on the input, it will go and connect to the respective regions and clean up the content. That's what my script. Now here, how we are going to send the input to the script, right? So from the Jenkins, if you want to send the input to the scripts, that's what the project is parameterized. Passing an input to your Jenkins jobs, that's what the parameter. We'll see. Now here, throttle builds are nothing but right build to build, build to build. How much time you want to give so that it can wait for that much of time for the next build. That's for the throttle build. And we are not going to give such kind of time delays because we need to trigger immediately once the job is completed. So then disable this project. Sometimes we require to stop this project temporarily, not for permanently. Right. So now here we are in the July month, and from today onwards, I want to stop this job because right now it is not required. But in the next month, I require this job. So what I can do, so that people are not going to trigger my job, because this moment I don't require the job. If I keep the job like that, there is a chance of people may trigger this job. So now what I can do, I can disable this project so that people are not able to trigger the job by mistakenly until unless it is enabled. That's what the disable project. Right. So execute concurrent builds if necessary. Concurrent builds. If you want to run the builds concurrently if necessary, then you can select this option. Right. So now these are the normal settings. Normal setting. In the settings, this one and this one are important for us. Project is parameterized and discard old builds. We'll see. We'll see once the jobs are created. We'll see these two. These are the extra options. Then the second section, source code management. The second section is nothing but right. So in our CI/CD process, you are going to get the code from the source code management, nothing but the version control tools like Git, Bitbucket, SVN, like that. Right. So now your Jenkins has to collect the code from the version control tools and take the code, then go for the process. Here the concept is connect to the GitHub or connect to the SVN or connect to the Bitbucket. How you are going to connect? With the help of the plugins. Where is the section? Source code management is the section. Here you can find none git SVN subversion. Right. Tomorrow I want to connect with the Bitbucket, but here I don't have the Bitbucket in the list. Means the plugin of the Bitbucket is not installed. That's it. Right. When the moment you want to connect with the other version control tool, simply you need to install the respective plugin. I want to connect with the Perforce. That is also one version control tool. Right. Install the Perforce plugin in the Jenkins server, then automatically you are going to see the Perforce entry in the source code management. So now these two came with the suggested plugins. When the moment I am trying to install the Jenkins, by that time it asked me to install the suggested plugins. I gave yes. Right. So with the suggested plugins, we got these two. Right. When you require the other version control tool, simply download or install the respective plugin. That's it. Right. So now this is the source code management section, then the build trigger section. One of the important for us. Interview area also for us. This one. Right. So now here triggers the builds remotely, nothing but from the scripts. From the scripts. So now here you can use the token, the validation like that. You can use the API calls. You can use the API calls to run the Jenkins job without connecting into the Jenkins with the help of the APIs, right? So those things can be handled here. When you want to run the job with the help of scripts, nothing but the APIs, this is the area. Right. So now here, the next one is build after other projects are built. Right. So now build after projects are built, nothing but right. There is a dependency between the jobs. I have 3 jobs: job A, job B, job C. The job should be executed when the job A is completed. Now the job B as a dependency, nothing but the job A. If the job A is failed, don't execute the job B. Now the job C has a dependency on the job B. Means if the job B is successfully executed, then go and execute the job C. Otherwise, don't execute the job. Likewise, you can create the dependencies and you can create the flow. Right? From where you are going to set up that option. If the job A is completed, then trigger the job B. Nothing but this one. We'll see with the example anyway. Now here build periodically. Right? So build periodically is nothing but the cron job. Right? In the Linux, we have a concept called cron jobs, right? Nothing but automatically executing the tasks. Every day 5 o'clock or every day night 10 o'clock, I want to take the backup of the server. What you will do? Simply you are going to create a cron job, then you are going to schedule like 10 p.m. of every day, trigger it. Then in the cron job, we are going to tell what are the action. My action is nothing but copy the data and store into some other server. The same concept in the Jenkins side also, nothing but the build periodically. Right. So now the build periodically will do what are the job I have created and what are the schedule I am going to provide here. The schedule, based on the schedule, it is going to run automatically. Cron job. I'm going to provide the cron job syntax here. Right. This is what the build periodically. Then GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling. This is what our CA step, continuous integration. Right. What is the continuous integration here is when the moment developers are completed their code and the code will be pushed to the source code management immediately. When the moment the code is pushed to the GitHub or some other version control tool, the respective job has to be triggered immediately. There should not be any manual process. I have to go and trigger it. Automatically the job has to be triggered. That's what the continuous integration. When the code push, trigger the job. So that's what the option here is. Then there is one more option called poll SCM. Again, here also you can see a schedule. Here also you can see a schedule. Both are giving the schedule only. This is what our entire question. What is the difference between build periodically and poll SCM? Right. So now the poll SCM is also nothing but a schedule, but here what the poll SCM will do. Right. So here your process, your CI/CD process is nothing but when there is a change, whenever the developers are pushed the code, then directly go and trigger the job. Right. So here I am going to set up the GitHub so that when there is a push into the version control tool, automatically the job is going to trigger. That is fine. And now daily the developers are going to trigger the pieces. The piece means 20% of the code I done, then I am going to check it and I want to validate it. And next 5% I am going to complete it, then I'm going to check it like that. So like that, pieces. I want to test. I'm going to test it. Right. So now here I want to see the complete progress of the day, not like the pieces. For the manager, he wants to see at the end of the day what is the progress on the application. Right. So now here you cannot give your job like because your job is nothing but a piece of information is going to provide. 2 lines of changes I have done, I am testing it. 4 lines of changes I am done, I am testing it. So I cannot give that information to my management. So now here what you can do, daily at some point of time, like before closing of the office hours, suppose 6 is the closing time, I am going to run 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is the lock time, so that any changes are there, push it before the 5 o'clock. Then I am going to run the change. I am going to run my job at 5 o'clock of daily, so that it is going to collect all the changes. Then it's going to run a single job. Then the job is nothing but the final output. By seeing the output of the job, you will come to know, okay, today these are the changes are done by the development team. Instead of going with the pieces by pieces, like by referring the different jobs. Right. So likewise, we are going to schedule the poll SCM. Now the poll SCM is nothing but based on the time, whatever you have provided, like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in a day, the jobs are going to trigger. Then what is the difference between build periodically? Because the build periodically also will do the same. If I schedule at 5 o'clock, it is going to run the 5 o'clock the jobs. Now the difference is if the changes are there, if the changes are there, then only 5 o'clock the job is going to trigger. So now in the sample job, if any changes I have done, then only my job is going to trigger at 5 p.m. If there were no changes, means the developer did not push any code to the GitHub. Now this job is not going to trigger. Even though you schedule at 5 o'clock, the job is not going to trigger. That's what the policy. Build periodically is not going to bother about the changes. If the developer pushes the changes or not, 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock the job is going to trigger. Right? When there were no changes, unnecessarily running the job, right? Because it's not going to give you any separate output. The same output only you are going to get. When there is a change only, you need to run the job so that you will see the latest output. Right? That's what the policy. When there is a change, then only it is going to trigger the job on the time frame. What are the time frame you have mentioned here? Build periodically not going to bother about any changes, any development side changes. Simply trigger the job. So that's what we need to tell here. So now this is what the build trigger options. So then the environment, some kind of configurations here. So now here we'll be using one part, nothing but the delete workspace. Right. So now workspace is nothing but a directory which is going to create inside your home location of the Jenkins. Where lib Jenkins. Inside the where lib Jenkins, the work directory will be created. So now here let me go to the where lib home location of the Jenkins. ls. Now here we are going to see a directory called workspace. As of now the workspace is not created because the workspace required at least one job should be there on the dashboard, at least one job. As of now we don't have any jobs, that is the reason we are not going to see the workspace directory. So now what the workspace will do, whatever the jobs you have created on the Jenkins application, those jobs will information will be stored inside the workspace. Now what is the information here? Whatever the outputs are being generated with the job, those content you are going to see in the workspace, the outputs, temporary outputs. Then whenever the job is going to rerun, it is going to replace the content with the old. Right? Sometimes the changes are not going to reflect. Sometimes there is a chance of the existing content is not going to allow to override the latest. By the time what will happen? It is going to show you the old content only, not the latest content. So now here, so to avoid that kind of situations, what we are going to do, clean up the content first before running the job in the workspace. Whatever the existing data is there for the job, delete it, then run it freshly, so that you are not going to see that kind of changes. Changes are not practical either. So now this is the option. This is the option. It is going to tell us like nothing but clean up the workspace, delete the workspace, so that you are not going to have the old data when you are going to run the job. Right. So now here use secrets, text files, nothing but we can add the keys, sensitive data into your jobs, username and passwords. That's what the secrets and text here. So now here there is one more option here, nothing but about the build if structs. That sometimes what will happen during execution of job at particular one of the step, it went for the infinite loop at particular step. Then what will happen? It will show you the job in progress, but but usually the job should be completed within 5 minutes. But in the past 10 minutes, it's going to show you the process, the execution in progress. What you will think? You will think about, okay, the job is running, the job is execution. But here usually the time is for the max time is for the job is 5 minutes. It is taking more than the 5 minutes. So now here what you will do, you are going to set up the timeout, right? So now I know my sample job hardly will take 1 minute, but I'm going to add some grace period also. Then I'm going to give 3 minutes. Usually it will be 1 minute, but for safer side, I have added a grace period for 1 more minute. Then I have given the 3 minutes. Now in the 3 minutes, the job is not completed. Then the job is going to fail. The job will be aborted, like that. So like that, you can abort the jobs. You can abort the job based on the time whatever you have set up. And here one more option is for us, add the timestamp to the console output. right? So now here the timestamp is nothing but when the job is going to trigger, it is going to give you the information. This step is executing, this step is executing, this step is executing, like that. Now I want to see at what time the step one is executed, at what time the step two is executed on the job. The job is nothing but a combination of actions. Now what is the time the action one is executed? What is the time the action two is executed? Those information I want to see. How we are going to find? Simple. Here add the timestamp so that in the log it is going to add the timestamp automatically. By seeing the timestamp, you can come to know, okay, this job is executed so and so time, like that, right? So now here these two are not useful for us. We can leave it. Then build. This is the heart of the job. Build, right? So now, as I said, the job is some set of actions or combination of tasks, right? As an example, create a file, copy file, delete file, three actions, right? Where you are going to define these actions, the tasks, nothing but the build. Whatever the task you want to execute as part of the job, those tasks you are going to define in the build section. And the post build section, the last action, right? Once the job is completed, what you want to do? I want to send an email to my team. That will be the post build. Or I want to trigger some other job which is dependent on this job. I'm going to use the post build actions. Or I want to archive this data in some other location. I want to copy the data in some other location. Post build actions, right? So now once all of your actions of the job is completed, the tasks are completed, then if you want to perform any kind of post build actions, that will be the this one. Right? So likewise, for a general job, we are going to see six sections, right? So now let's see. I want to trigger this sample job. Then I want to see the job configurations and the job options, right? So now here, what is the sample job purpose? My sample job purpose is to display a greeting message. I want to display a greeting message on the console, right? So now here, what I will do, I will write execution. The actions will be under the build, right? So now what is action here? I want to display a message, right? So now here, where this application is running, this Jenkins, on which OS? My application Jenkins is running on the Linux OS. If you want to display a message on the Linux, echo is the keyword, right? So by using the echo keyword, I can run the Linux commands, right? So now here, where you are going to point in my job, the build is the one there you are going to point your execution message, right? So now here build, and here add build step. You can see some other steps here. Then out of that, you can see Windows batch command. If the Jenkins is installed on Windows Server, then you need to require the Windows commands, not the Linux. No support will be there if I run the Linux commands, right? So likewise, if the Jenkins is installed on the Linux machine, then when you want to run the Linux command, then you need to use execute shell. Then here the command, it's going to ask you the command, what the command you want to run. Suppose I want to run display message. For the display message in the Linux, echo is the command.
Hello, Shankar. Hello.
Yeah, now able to hear, right, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Right. So yeah. So now here my job purpose is just I want to execute a command, nothing but the Linux command. Now the Linux command is displaying a message. That's it. Right. So now my message is hello guys. I want to display it with the help of my Jenkins sample job. So now I have given the build action only one part, not touched any area. Then apply and save. You can see it is saved now. This is the configuration section of the job. So now here, once the job is saved, let's go to the sample job. Now here you can see some options. Changes. We'll discuss about the change later. Workspace, right? Just now we are discussing about the workspace, right? All the jobs, whatever the jobs you are going to create on the Jenkins dashboard, those jobs will be stored in the workspace. Now the workspace is nothing but the jobs content. What are the outputs, what are the files are going to generate, those information you will be found on the workspace. So now this is the workspace folder from the GA side. Now the same workspace you are going to find on the server side in the Jenkins home directory. As of now, workspace is not created because I am not executed this job yet. I am not executed this job yet. Right? That is the reason the workspace is not created. When the moment I trigger the job, once the job is completed, automatically the workspace will be created. Inside the workspace, you are going to see this job information. We'll see. I will show you. So now here, this is what the workspace. Then the build now is nothing but you want to trigger the job. You want to execute the job so that you want to see the output. That's what the build now. Delete project, right? You want to delete this job. I don't want it anymore. Simply delete it, right? You want to add extra steps also. You want to add extra step or you want to modify the configurations. The job configuration can be done from here. This polling log is nothing but the GitHub connection, the version control tool connection. The log you can see. The polling means when the people are pushed the code, then the polling will be happened. But the polling information you can find here. As of now, we are not connected with the GitHub, so now this is not useful for us. So now the rename is nothing but the job name. I want to rename it sample job to some other job. That's what here the renaming option. Likewise, you are going to see some set of options once the job is created, right? So now here, if I scroll down, we can see build history, right? So now if now I'm going to start running the job, executing the job. So when the moment I execute the job, here I'm going to see the history. When the moment I execute the job, here I'm going to see the job information. Right? When the moment I execute the job, here I'm going to see the job information.
Shankar. Hi, Shankar.
Hello, Shankar.
Maybe network issue. Yeah, hi. Able to hear me, guys?
Yes, Shankar. Yeah, yeah.
Shankar.
Hello? Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Some internet glitch. Yeah. Right, so now here the job is ready. Now these are the options for the job. Right, so now here the build history is nothing but how many times you executed the job, the entries you are going to find it here. Right, so now as of now there is no build history, means I am not yet triggered this job. I am going to build now. Click on build now. So now here we are going to see the build history. Not a triggered. Let me click on build now. Build is scheduled. Right, so now here you can see a one, right? One time I have executed the one entry I can see here. Now here there is a representation, color representation. Now we are going to see three type of colors in the history. One is blue, and the second one is yellow, and the third one is red. Blue means successful execution. Yellow means the job is executed successfully, but there is some glitch in the one of the step. So means the step is not properly executed or some problem with the step. That is the reason sometimes you are going to see the yellow color. The red means there is a problem with the step. The job got failed. Successful is the blue. Red is the fail. Yellow is nothing but unstable builds. Right. So now the build is successful, but there is some problem with the one of the step. So now here, okay, fine. When the moment I trigger the build now, I can see the entry for that particular build. Now what is the output? Right. So what I got it here with the job. Now that information you can find under this bill number, right? So now here you can see there is a arrow mark. If I click on here, it is going to open the drop down list like this, or simply click on the number, so that it will open a menu, a separate window, I mean to say the build one, for the build one. So now here it is opening. I have clicked on the build one. Now you can see a separate window is open for the build one. Now here there are some options, right? So go back status. Now here there is the changes. We'll discuss about the changes later. Right now I cannot show you the changes, what exactly happening here. Then the console output. This is the one where you can find the log of the particular build number, right? So now let me click on the console output. That any issues with the build means successfully executed, we are good. If something is failed, now we want to see what is the issue, why the build is failed, which step is causing to fail the build. Those information we are going to find on the particular build number in the console output section. Console output is nothing but the log information about your particular build, right? So it's opening here, the console output. See here, you can see the job is started. Who triggered the job? The Shankar is the person triggered the job, right? So now here this sample job is here, and this is the command I have given in my job, echo hello guys, and this is the output I got it, like that, right? So now the output of the job here I can see by going into the console output. If you want to see this output in a text file, a plain text, simply can click on here, a text file you are going to see, so that you can export this file, like you can copy and paste, and you can give it to some other guys also. You can share the log. So then you want to delete this bill number, you can delete the bill number, right? So bill information can be modified by clicking this edit bill information here, right? So now this is the history of the particular job, right? So now if I click on the sample job, now I can see the bill history. I am going to trigger one more time. What will happen here? One more entry is going to create. Nothing but one more time you are going to run the job. One more time running the job means one more time you are trying to execute the actions, the set of actions inside the job. Means one more time you are going to see the same message. That's it, right? So build now. Build is scheduled. Now here you are going to see one more entry. 2 we are going to see, like this. The same. Now I want to see this build history information. So what I will do, I am going to click on the build number. Console output. The same output you are going, because I did not modify anything in my job. Hello guys. Now if you want to go back to the previous build one, there is an option here. You click on, you can see the previous one, like that. So now here I'm going to modify my content, my job content, right? So now here click on configuration. If you want to modify the job content, click on the job configuration. Click on here, and I will go to my build step, right? So now here I am going to add hello guys, how are you? Then I want to create a file here, devops.txt. I want to display message and I want to create a file. 2 Linux commands, apply and save. Right, now the job is saved. Now try to execute the job. Click on build now. Build is scheduled. Now one more entry will be created under the build history 3. Right, now see the output of this particular build number, right? Because I have modified my job. So click on the build 3. Click on the console output. Now here you can see the latest. Hello guys, how are you? And touch DevOps.txt. If I go to my previous build, there we are going to see only a message. Hello guys. No, how are you? Nothing. Right? Likewise. So likewise, right, the job is going to trigger whatever the actions you are going to mention inside the job, that will be triggered, and the actions, events, the history you can find under the build history with the build numbers. Right. These are the auto-generated build numbers. Automatically your system will be generated. Then here, let me go back. 1, 2, 3 is generated, right? So let me go back to my Jenkins, my dashboard. Now you can see in the Jenkins dashboard, there is a job is created. There is one job is created with the name sample job. So now I'm going to create one more job, one more entry, one more job, one more event. Like that, in the dashboard, you are going to see huge amount of jobs information, the list. Right. So here you can see the sample job information. Then last success, 1 minute back, any failures, no duration. How is the duration for the job? 32 milliseconds. Now here you can see there is again the build option. You don't require to go to the sample job, go inside the sample job, click on build now. Simply from the dashboard itself, we can trigger the job by clicking this option, schedule a build. Right. So now here you can see the status of the job, successful. Now here there is a representation, a kind of weather report. Right. So now the weather report is nothing but if you have bright sun means all the jobs are successfully completed, executed. Complete means successfully executed. That is the reason you are going to see bright sun. Now if there is a failure, then the bright sun will be gone. Something like partial cloud you are going to see. After that, majority of failures you are going to see in the job. Then you are going to see kind of rainy, like that. So like that, the weather report is going to show you based on the build status. If there are 10 times I trigger my job, out of 10, only 2 times successful, 8 times or fail means it's going to show you in rainy, like that. Suppose a kind of weather report. That's it. It's not like we don't require to focus on this thing, but yes, by seeing this report, you can tell like how many majority of successes, what is the majority of success, what is the majority of failures. So now here, suppose I am going to go to the configuration, and I will go to my job build. Then here I'm going to change my command echo to echo. Right? The Linux will not understand echo now. This is not the recognized command in the Linux. Apply and save. Means I want to fail my job. I want to fail my job forcefully. Let me open the configuration again, see whether the changes are applied or not. Build. No, the changes are not applied. I am going to modify it again. Echo, apply. And saved. Okay. Now the changes are saved. Now try to run the job. It should fail. Now you can see a red color. The job got failed. If I go to the, now we want to understand why the job is failed. We want to see the reason. Now we'll go to the console output. Execute marked as failed because echo command not found. This is the problem. Likewise, you can find the issues in the log if the job got failed. Right. So now I will go to my dashboard, Jenkins. Now see, the bright sun is gone. Some kind of clouds came into picture. Like so, here you can see build stability. 1 out of the 4 builds are failed. One build is failed. Like that, a kind of weather representation of your entire job status. So now here, let me go back to my job and let me go back to the configuration again, and I will change the echo to normal echo command, so that I want to make this job is successful. So here let me modify it back, apply, save. Internet is not good, that is the reason is not able to take both at a time. Configuration, build, change it to echo, apply. Now saved, save it. Right, so now I'm going to build now. Success. Right, so now here my what is my job actions are nothing but what is inside my job is nothing but I want to display a message called hello guys, how are you, and the second one is I want to have a file called DevOps.txt where this file is going to create. Right, so if you don't mention any kind of specific location, by default the content will be generated in the Jenkins home location. Inside the home location you are going to find a folder, a directory called workspace. Inside the workspace you are going to find that information. That's what the workspace here is. The workspace is going to capture the outputs of the particular jobs. Right, so now both the ways you can verify the workspace. Both the ways means from the front end, from the GUI side you can go and check the workspace. Right, let me click on the workspace. Right, you can see the DevOps.txt file. Right, so now here the same thing I can verify from my server also. CD where home location of the Jenkins, where lib Jenkins. Right, so now here as of now we don't have any workspace, right, before the job execution. Now we are going to see a workspace, a directory with the name workspace. Workspace, nothing but here this is the same thing, the workspace. Right, so now here let's go to the workspace, CD workspace ls. Now I'm going to see my job information, sample job. Now if I go to my sample job, there I can find the file called DevOps.txt. Here is going to create. So likewise going forward, if you are trying to create the job sample, not only the sample job, you are trying to create multiple jobs, all the jobs information will be stored inside the workspace. Sample job, the other job, like we'll see anyway. Okay, right, so now this is what the workspace here is. Right, so now we'll take a break for 15 minutes. Right, we'll come back at 12:30 and we'll see the other concepts of our Jenkins. Okay guys.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Shankar, fine.
We'll meet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Okay.
conference will
Before
now be
starting
recorded.
the next concepts, any queries, any doubts? Okay. So no, I think no queries. I think we are good. Okay, fine. So as we discussed it, right? So the nodes
Shankar, I have
concept.
questions.
Uh,
Ram
yes,
here.
Rajesh. Yeah, Karan. Yeah.
Yeah, in real time, so like which one we are going to use? Build periodically or pull?
No, yeah. That anyway I'm going to cover. That is a separate concept. Pole SCM. The options anyway. That options we are going to discuss. Current concepts like whatever we have discussed so far. If you guys have any doubts, let me know. Those things I will discuss, Rama. Okay. Don't worry
Okay.
about that one. In the real time, we are going to use GitHub SCM polling, auto triggering of jobs actually.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I will show you those things. No worries. Okay. So now here in our we discussed about the nodes, master servers, slave machines to handle huge amount of load. That concept, right? So here, as I said, my server is capable of 4 jobs can be run parallelly, right? So that information where you can find. So means how many jobs at a time you can trigger on this server, right? So that information you can see here on the Jenkins dashboard. Under that, you are going to see build executor status. Now you can see here there are 2 idle. As of now, no job is running. Means now at this moment I can run 2 jobs parallel at a time. Right. So now 2 jobs means very less. There is a chance of at a time people are going to trigger 4 jobs or 5 jobs or 10 jobs. Right. So there this count needs to be increased so that parallel I can run some good amount of jobs. Right. Where we can change this option. Right. So changing the build executor status will be from the manage Jenkins. Every configuration will be under manage Jenkins section only. Click on the manage Jenkins. Then here the first one, configure system. Click on the configure system. So now here you can see the option executors 2, right? The 2. Now I am going to change it to 5. Apply and save. So now my executors will be increased to 5. So usually we are going to maintain 7 to 8 jobs. Then beyond the 7, we are going to add the slaves actually. The best practice always. But if the system is very high configured, yes, you can increase the count based on the system configuration, based on the usage of the job. Right. So this is one option, nothing but changing the build executors. Right. Right. So now let's see the other options. Right. So now as of now, we have seen a freestyle job creation. Under the freestyle, just take action, nothing but display message and create a file. That's it. So now here, when I'm going to click on this job, and I will go to the build history, one of the history, nothing but the latest one, 5. And if I go to the console output, it will show me what are the actions are executed as part of this build 5. Right. I want to see the time and date information. Right. So now so that I can know, okay, this time the job is triggered and this is the time it has been taken to complete the job. So right, I will have some idea on the job execution and the between the steps how much. Right. So now for that, go to the job and click on the configuration, and here go to the build environment section. Click on the build environment section. Now you can see here, add timestamp to the console output. Right? We are referring the console output to see the logs. So select this one. Apply and save it. Now try to trigger the job. Click on build now. Now the sixth generated. Now go to the console output. See, the timestamp is added. So like that, you can check the time also of your job execution. How much, what time it got triggered, and what is the time taken for each and every step. Right now it's only one step. Then how much time it has taken for the completion of job. Like that. This is one option. Then some practices. Right. So here we'll be having the jobs like I have one job called development job, dev job. Right. So now this, once the job is successfully completed, then I want to trigger the next job called QA job. Right. Once the QA job is successfully completed, then I want to trigger the SIT job. Means there is a dependency between the jobs. Right. So now QA is dependent on dev job, SIT is dependent on QA job. Right. So now this is the flow I want to trigger. Continuous deployment, CD. Like this. So now this is my first job, then second, then third. Suppose this job got failed, immediately you have to stop this job. Immediately means this job should not be executed. Suppose this job successfully executed and this job got failed, then you should not execute the SAT job. Right. So like that, the chain, we are going to call it a chain jobs. Now I want to set up this chain mechanism so that there is a job dependence and other job. The prior job is executed, then you have to trigger your current job. If my current job is triggered, then my post job has to be executed like that. If any job is failed, then the chain has to be broken. The chain has to be stopped. Right. So for that, we need 3 jobs. Then we will establish the chain communication. Right. So let's go and see. So now here I will go to the Jenkins, and here I am going to click on new item, and I'm going to use a name as a dev job. Freestyle. Okay. Now go to the build step, add a build step, execute shell, and here echo dev job trigger, some message, apply and save. So now I have my dev job. Then we require 2 more jobs, nothing but the QA and SIT job. Go to the dashboard. Right now you can see here one more job is created, dev job. So now I'm going to create. So see here, it is not representing any column, means this job is not yet triggered. So now click on new item, and I'm going to use QA job. Right. So now here we have a feature in the Jenkins, a option, nothing but I want to replicate the job. I want to replicate the job, right? Dev to QA. Then is a minor changes I'm going to do on the QA job. Suppose my dev job is having some 15 steps. The same steps has to be there for the QA also, but some minor changes just just a few steps has to be changed on the QA job. That's it. So for that, you don't require to create the job from the scratch for the QA, nothing but create the step by step, like all the 15 steps. Simply can copy the configuration from the dev job to the new job, nothing but your QA job, so that all the configuration will be copied to the QA job. Then do the changes wherever is required. So for that, now here I want to create a QA job. which is nothing but the replica, nothing but I want to take the dev configuration into my QA job. So now here give the job name and scroll down at the end, you are going to see copy from. So here give the job name dev job, so that the dev job configuration will be copied into my QA job. Click on OK. Entire configuration, whatever you have done on that dev. Right, my QA job is ready. Go to build. This is the only one step I have now. Simply I'm going to change from dev to QA. Apply and save. So likewise, create one more job, new item, SIT job. Right, so I want to copy it from any job, dev or QA, because both are same only, just a minor change, nothing but the name change, environment change, and that's it. So now build. Here I'm going to change SIT. Apply and save it. Multiple times I click on apply. There is a reason it is not able to understand. It is throwing something like error. Apply and save it. Right. So now here, if I go to my dashboard, I can see there are 3 jobs: dev, QA, SIT. Right. Now if I go to each and individual job, I can click on build now. Separately, I can build the jobs dev. Now go to the QA job. You can build it. Right. But there is no relation between the jobs. These are individual job, isolated job. You can individually, these jobs can build. But I want to make the communication, chain communication. I want to establish the chain communication. Nothing but once the dev job is triggered and the job is completed, automatically the QA job has to be triggered. I should not go and trigger them manually. Once the QA is successfully completed, then automatically trigger the SIT job. That's what my intention is. Automatically the job has to be triggered based on the prior job status. Right. So now here, first I will go to the dev job. Click on the dev job to establish the chain communication. So go to the first job and go to the job configuration. Click on the configure. Then right, the action, when the action has to be taken, what is the action here? Trigger the QA job. When the QA job has to be triggered, once the dev job is completed, nothing but the post build action. Once the job is completed, then trigger the QA job. That's what the post build action. Now click on the post build actions. Now here I am going to add a post build actions, nothing but build other projects. Right. So now here it is going to ask you what is the job you want to trigger. I want to trigger my QA job. Auto filling, select it. Right here you can see only the build is stable or unstable. Right, I explained you, right? Unstable is nothing but the job is executed with all the steps, but somewhere the stuff is having some glitches or the build fails. In what case you want to trigger this job? Usually my previous job is successfully completed, then only I want to trigger my QA. Otherwise don't deploy the code into QA environment. Right, so that's what we are going to select, trigger only if build is stable. Apply and save. Right, so now the communication, the chain communication is established between the dev and QA. Now the QA to SIT has to be established. Right, so now the QA has to be trigger the SIT job when the QA job is successfully completed. So now let's go to the QA job and go to the QA job configuration. Then here again the same post build actions, and here add post build actions, build other projects, and here which job you want to trigger? I want to trigger SIT job. Apply and save. Now the chain mechanism is established between all the 3 jobs. Right, so now triggering the other jobs can be done in 2 ways. triggering the other jobs can be done in two ways. One is from the post build actions. Just now we have seen the other way. The other way is, if I go to SIT job, suppose, go to the configuration, build environment, any option is here, nothing is there. Build triggers, sorry, build triggers, you can see build after other projects are built. So now if I select here, it's going to ask me which project you want to monitor. I want to monitor the QA job. So now when this job is going to trigger, when the QA job is completed. Right here, the configuration can be done in two ways. One is here, go to the job, and from the job go to the post build actions. Now from here I am going to select the other job, nothing but SIT job. This is one way. And the QA job, go to the post build actions, then you ask to trigger the SIT job, the next job. Or here, go to the SIT job and go to the build trigger options. Now from here, build after other projects. Right, after other project means here I'm going to select my QA job, so that this job is going to monitor the other project, nothing but the QA job. Once the QA job is completed, automatically this job is going to trigger. Right, on the destination job you can configure, or on the source job you can configure. If I take this as source and this is a destination, right, on the QA job I can go to the post build actions. From that I can trigger my next job, or my destination job I can go to the destination job, there I can monitor my source job. Like that in two ways we can configure this chain mechanism. Right, so now I'm gonna, so already I have configured the post build actions, so that I'm not going to touch this one. Apply and save. Right, so now here by seeing this four jobs, can we identify any chain mechanism established between the jobs or not by seeing this four jobs? No, you don't know whether these jobs are having a chain mechanism or not by seeing here. Right, so but when I click on the dev job, there you can understand. There you are going to see a option called downstream projects. Right, so now by seeing here you can understand, okay, this job is having a dependency, nothing but the QA job is going to trigger if the job is completed. So likewise, if I go to the QA job, we are going to see two sections. Right, now the QA job is having a dependency on the dev job, and SIT job is having a dependency on the QA job. That is the reason for the QA job, upstream job is dev, and the downstream job is SIT for the QA. Now if I go to the SIT, there will not be any downstream, because SIT is the last one. We are going to have the upstream job. Right, now SIT is dependent on QA job, so now for that SIT we are having an upstream project, nothing but the QA job. Likewise, we can know the communication between the jobs by clicking on the jobs. If I click on the sample job, it is not having any chain configuration. That is the reason you are not going to see anything here. Right, so now let's go and deploy it. So I'm going to click on the dev job, and I'm going to click on the build now. Right, the dev job has to be triggered. There is no auto triggering as of now for the dev. So that is the reason I went to dev job, and I'm trying to click on the build now, so that once the job is completed, it is going to trigger the QA job. So click on build now. You can see build history is generated 1. If I go to my dashboard, right, so the dev job is completed. Right, so when the moment the dev job is completed, it is going to trigger the QA job, but still it is going me a plain color. Right, means is not giving me impression like this job is executed. So now click on the job, you are going to see the history, QA job. Right, I did not trigger this job automatically. My dev job is triggered the QA job. I can see the history. Now go to the dashboard. The SIT job. This is also triggered by QA job, right? If I click on the SIT job, I can see one history. Like that, the jobs are going to trigger automatically when the previous job is successfully completed. Right. So if I go to this console output, I can see SIT job is triggered. The particular job action, this SIT job actions. Right. Likewise, if I go to the QA job, I can see the QA job action. Go to the history, console output. QA job is triggered like that. So like that, we can create the chain jobs with the help of post build actions or build trigger options. So now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the QA job and I will change the configuration. Nothing but I want to fail this job, the QA job. Right, echo I'm going to modify as a some other thing. Apply and save. So now what will happen? The dev should not be have any problem. The dev it is going to execute successfully. But when the moment the QA job is triggered, it is going to fail because the command is not going to recognize by the Linux. When the QA job is failed, then it is not going to trigger the SIT job. Right. So now here I will go to the dev job again. Then I am going to click on the build now. So now the history will be generated as 2. Right. So now go to the dashboard. Now click on the QA job so that you are going to see the failure. Second. So when the QA job is failed, it should not trigger the SIT job because there is a check. When the job is successfully completed, then only trigger the SIT job. Now this failed means it is not going to trigger. Still, it is going to have only one history, one entry. Usually it should be 2, but the QA job is failed. That is the reason it is not triggered. Like that, we can have a proper, a safe chain mechanism between the jobs. Right? If you want to trigger the jobs like this, okay. Right, guys. So now I will go to my dev job. Let me remove. Okay, fine. I will go to the sample. I will go to the sample job. As of now, I have 6 entries. Now I'm going to click on build now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times are triggered. Means 4 entries are going to create 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. As I said, when the moment you trigger the job, the history will be generated. It's my testing job. For that, I don't require to maintain these many histories. Otherwise, unnecessarily the space is going to consume. Right. So what we can do here is, right. So I want to have only the latest 5 jobs. 5 entries are enough because it's a testing job. I don't need the history. Right. So now here you want to discard the old bills. You don't want to maintain the old bills. Right. So the old bills are nothing but you want to maintain only the latest 5 entries. I don't want all the entries. So for that, what you can do here is we can go to the job configuration. Click on the job configuration and go to here the general section. The general section here you can see discard old bills. Number of days. I want to keep the 7 days jobs. But out of the 7 days, I want to have the only the 5 latest 5. Even though 7 days, 70 entries are there, but I don't want it. I want to have the only 5 latest. Apply and save. Right now, trigger the job, build now. Right, so it came 11th. Still, I can see 1 to 11, but my what I did is I want to have only the 5. Just to refresh the page. You can see the latest 5 are going to see. Right, the other 5 are gone. The other 6 are gone because the discard build options. Because of the discard build options. Right. So now here, if I scroll up, I don't see anything here. Go to the Jenkins dashboard. Okay, I think they have removed in the latest actually. Or let me see here. Yes. Okay, fine. So there is an option called auto refresh. So automatically your Jenkins is going to refresh. But I think in the current version, they have removed that option. Okay, fine. Right. So now in the fashion, you can maintain the history of the builds by using the discard old build option. Right. So now here I want to send inputs to my job. Right. So now your job required the inputs. As of now, no job is having any kind of inputs. No job is right. So now here, simply when I want to trigger the job, I will go to my job and I'm triggering the job. Now I want to I want to send input to my job. So what I am going to do? Right. So you are going to create a job or change the any job configuration. Suppose I will go to the sample job. Right, the sample job, I want to send input to sample job. So how we are going to send an input to sample job is nothing but go to the configuration, job configuration, then in the general section again, the same general section, here we are going to see a option called this project is parameterized. So click on the option called the project is parameterized. So now here you can see there is a drop down list with the name add parameter. Click on the drop down list. Here you are going to see the list which you can pass as input to your job. Boolean parameters, choice, credentials, file, subversions, multi-line string, like that. String parameters. So now here I want to use the drop down list. So what I'm going to do, click on the choice parameter. Right. So now here my choice parameter is nothing but env, environment. Now dev, QA, SIT and prod. These are my environments. Right. So, so now here I'm not going to create 4 separate jobs to maintain my environments. Simply with the one job, I want to maintain all of my 4 environments. Right. How we are going to do based on the inputs. If the user pass the input dev, then I want to execute the dev tasks, dev actions. If the user click on the select the QA, then I want to trigger the QA actions, like that. Right. So now here click on apply and save. Right. So now when the moment you saved the job there, now here earlier you can see build now it changed to build with parameters. From the build now to it changed with build with parameters option. Right. So now when I click on the build with parameters, then you are going to see the drop down list, the choice parameter. Now you can select the list, the drop down, like dev QA SID. Select the QA, then right. So now here to the sample job, I am sending an input called QA as a env, as a variable called env build. Anything will happen? Nothing will be happen, because just I have given the drop down list. That's it. I did not validating whether it's a dev go to take this action, whether the QA take this action. No, simply I have given the input. So that is the reason. If I go to the 12, you are not going to see any separate thing here. Whatever I have in my build part, that will be executed. Right. So now here in the same in the fashion, you can create the arguments. I mean to say you can pass the parameters to the job. Then how we are going to handle these parameters? Right. Right now I know how to create the parameters. How can I send the parameters? Nothing but the inputs. How can I send the inputs to my job? I know there is an option called build with parameters. Right? With the help of the parameters, you can provide the inputs, but it has to be accepted. Right. Those parameters has to be taken inside your job. So for that, now we are going to use our shell scripts, the Python or some other process to handle the inputs. Right. So now here what I'm going to do here is I will go to the build, and here echo processing. Okay, fine. Bin bash shell syntax. We'll see shells at some point of time. Just try to understand that's it. So now here if my dollar environment equal to dev then processing dev environment. So if the environment is nothing but my user input is matching with the dev, then I want to display it. Suppose here I have given something like that. Apply and save. Build with parameters SIT build. 13. Go here. Console output. Right? Nothing is displayed because the criteria is not matched. Right? My criteria is if my input is dev, then only I want to execute some certain actions. Here, nothing is missed. No action has been performed because I am not validating it. Right. So let me go back to project and build with parameters. Then I will leave the dev as it is. Click on build. 14. Go to the 14 console output processing dev environment. Right. So now the actions are taking because my input is matching with my criteria. Like if it is dev like that, we are going to write the scripts so that whatever the inputs are being passed by the end user, it will be validated, and based on that, we are going to execute the actions like this. Right. So this kind of like it's a shell script, not like every time you are going to write the shell script. Multiple ways to handle the inputs. Like this is a simple example. Right. Okay. In this fashion, right here, how to handling the environments. I mean, the variables is not the concept. How we are going to create, how we are going to accept the variables as inputs to your job. How to handling is the number of ways to handle the variables, but here how to create the variable so that you can send as a inputs to your job. The project is parameter. This is the one. Right. So now these are the like common jobs, like common things which we are going to see on the job side, like change job, passing the inputs to your jobs, log rotations, right? So increasing the executors, like some options. So now let's see with the our process wise. Like nowhere we are discussing about our continuous integration or continuous deployment. Just we are trying to understand the Jenkins. And the Jenkins said the options we are trying to see. So now the other options we are going to cover with the process, the Jenkins other options. So now here in our process, right, the continuous integration process is right. So when the people in the sense when the team, the developers are ready with the code, what they will do? Simply they are going to push the code from their workstation to the source code management. Suppose this is my developer workstation, developer 1 workstation. So now here what the developer will do here, suppose if I treat this as a my GitHub server, right? So now once the code is ready, then what he will do, simply he will push the code from the dev to GitHub server, right? So now here whatever the code I have, the same code will push to GitHub server. So now what the GitHub will do, it will send a poll, a notification to your, now we will treat this as a Jenkins server. Now what the GitHub will do, when the moment the code comes to the GitHub server, then the GitHub server will send a poll or a notification to the Jenkins server. So now what the Jenkins server will do, it is going to trigger the respective jobs. Here the Jenkins server will be having job 1, job 2, job 3, job 4, like that on the Jenkins server. So now this the developer, whoever pushed the code, dev 1 changes. So now the developer pushed the changes are nothing but here dev1 changes. So now what should be happening here? This guy will send a notification to Jenkins, nothing but I got some changes. So now what the Jenkins will do, in the list of the jobs, whatever the job is belongs to the particular chain, the particular job is going to trigger like that. Now this job one is going to trigger, right? So now here the things are nothing but here the first part will be the communication between the GitHub to your Jenkins. This is the first step. Once the communication is established, then the Git is going to send notification to the Jenkins server when the moment it got the changes from the developers or from the team. Right. So the first part is the integration between the GitHub to Jenkins. The second part is triggering the job to the respective changes. Triggering the job to the respective, because there might be 100 jobs will be there on the server, but which job has to be triggered for the particular change? That is the second step. So now when you set up these two things, integration and triggering the right job for the change, that's what the continuous integration starting step. Continuous integration starting step. This is what the first step of the continuous integration. Right. So let's see how to integrate the GitHub server with the Jenkins. Then forward we will see this part. Right. So now here, if I go to my Jenkins, go to the dashboard. With the suggested plugins, already we got the Git. The Git plugin already installed in the Jenkins with the suggested plugins. Means you don't require to install a separate Git plugin because already it is there. If you don't find the Git option in the Jenkins, then yes, you need to remember, you need to understand, okay, the plugin is not installed. That's it. Right. So, but as a default, you are going to get the Git plugin because with the suggested plugins, you are going to get it. So now here I'm going to create a new item, new job, CI job. We'll see the continuous integration process with the freestyle job. Once we are good with the freestyle, then we'll convert the freestyle job into pipeline, because the pipeline is a production job, means in the real-time job, not the freestyle. But you have to understand the options. How we are going to understand the options usually means with the freestyle. Right. So that is the reason we are going to go with the freestyle, then followed by the pipeline. So right. So I'm going to select. So I'm going to select the freestyle for my CA job and click on OK. Now the job is going to create the CA job. Now the first step is integration with your source code management called your version control tool, nothing but the GitHub. Right. So now here the section, the integration section of the source code management will be the second one. Source code management. So click on the source code management. Now here you can see there are two version control tools are displaying here. One is the Git and the second one is the subversion. Right. Now the Jenkins will be having a nice feature, nothing but if you don't understand this option, suppose you are not able to understand this option, here they are going to provide the help. You don't require to go to the Google, simply expand it, click on it. So now it's going to explain you what exactly the option is, how to use also, sometimes it's going to give you. Now click on, it will be gone. Right. So here I want to understand what exactly this is. So select it. Like that. Like that, the help is also providing at the options level, on the options level. Likewise. Right. So now here I'm going, so none. As of now, this job is not integrated with any source code management. Now I want to integrate with. So now to integrate with, so which one you are going to take? We are good with the Git, right? So I'm going to take the Git. Now here the repository URL is required. Which repository you want to connect, right? So now here I'm going to take my one of the Git repository. So for that, I'm going to log into github.com. So this is my project. So let me sign out. Sign in. So one other project I have taken, nothing but the hello world servlet, some project, some sample code. So right, so now here we need to provide the repository URL from where you are going to pick from the clone or download button, right? So now here go to the gate and select the repository, then select the code. Now here you can see clone, right? Select it. Now go to the Jenkins again and give the path. Now here we are going to see a error, failed to connect to the repository, right? So now here your Jenkins is not able to connect with the Git, right? So now from the application side, from the GUI side, we have the Git plugin, but from the server side, the Git is not there. I will go to the server side. This is my Jenkins server. Git command. Right, so now that is the reason it is not able to understand the Git, is not able to connect to the Git. Right, so now let me save it here, apply and save. So now in the theoretical part, in the application explanation of the Jenkins, there I told you, right, the tools, whatever the tools you want to run from the Jenkins, with the help of, there are two ways, with the help of me, there are two ways to install the tools on the Jenkins server. One is manually, go to the server, download the package and install it. The second way is the Jenkins will take care of it, right? So now here the other way is we are going to ask the Jenkins to install this particular tool, so that the Jenkins will take care of the particular tool installation. You don't need to do the manually. From where, from which area you are going to tell, right? So that Jenkins will take care of the installation. For that, go to the Jenkins dashboard, go to the manage Jenkins and the global tool configuration. The global tool can nothing but whatever the command which you are going to run, the particular tool has to be installed on the server. Now, the tool installation can be done in two ways. One is the manual, the second one is the from the Jenkins side. Now I am going to show you Jenkins side. Click on the global tool configuration. Now here you can see the options like JDK, Java thing. Already Java is installed, so you don't require to set up the JDK. Then Git. Right, so here you can see install automatically, but here there is some glitch is there with the Git. Nothing but for the Linux, for the Linux servers, you cannot say install automatically. The Git is not able to install the Git, but rest of the tools can be handled. Some glitch with the Git. So this is nothing but on the Windows side, right? On the Windows, suppose the Jenkins is installed on the Windows server, then what you can do here is you can give some name to the Git. Then you can give wherever the Git is installed on your machine, right? On my machine, wherever the Git is located, I can take the path and I can give it here, so that the Git is integrated with your Windows machine. But for the Linux, we cannot use this option. As of now, it is not available. So now here I will go back. We'll see the other tools can be installed with the help of Jenkins. You don't require to do manually. For the Git, yes, we require to do manually. So now I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to save this one. So now here the global tool is not going to have an option for me to install the Git from the Jenkins side. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go do the installation with the manual. So let me go to the server and Git installation, a simple command, right? M install git -y. So now the Git is going to install on my server, right? So now here the Git is installed, git -version. That's it. You don't require to do any extra things, just to simply install the Git, a single command. Now go to the job, the Jenkins job, go to the dashboard, and go to the CA job and click on the configuration. Source code management. Now see the error is gone. Right. So now when you seeing this kind of error with the Git, nothing but the Git is not installed on the server. That's it. So simply go to the server and install the Git. Then the error will be gone. So now here, this repository is a public repository. So that is the reason authentication is not required. But in the real time, the repositories are private repositories. There the authentication is required. Right. So because those are private. So now to provide the authentication in the Jenkins, we are going to use credential manager. Credentials manager. Now what we can do upfront before creating of the job, you can create the credentials so that the Git can connect with your Jenkins. Or at the moment while configuring, you can add the credentials like this. Right. So now here as of now nothing is there. So now if you want to add the credentials like the username and password of the Git, so that your GitHub and the Jenkins are going to connect and access the private repositories. So now click on add and click on Jenkins. Right. So here you are going to see different types of authentication: username, GitHub app, SSH with the key, secret file, secret text, certificate. Different types of authentication. So now I'm going to use username and password. Now my username is something like that, like now stable 9, and my password will be something like that. GitHub, get some name, GitHub credentials given. Then add. Now here you can see credentials are added. Username and the password will be mask left. Right. When the when you are going to connect with the private repositories, then you are going to store our credentials in the credential manager so that your passwords are not going to expose into the outer world. Otherwise, it can be misutilized by other persons. Right. So this is one way. This is one way of adding the credentials from the area where, like, from the while doing the configuration of the job. Right. The second way is upfront. Go to the Jenkins. Let me save it, apply and save. Go to the Jenkins, and here you can see manage credentials. Nothing is there here. The option here we should see manage credentials. The option is, I think they have removed it from here. Okay, let me go to the manage Jenkins, then manage credentials. Click on, actually the option will be there, but for the latest version I think they have removed from here. So now manage credentials, click on the manage credentials, then we are going to see stored scope. Click on the Jenkins, then click on the global credentials, then you are going to see option called add credentials. Right now you can see GitHub credentials, username with password, add credentials, then again the same story, kind, then give the details and click on OK. So that upfront we can create the credential, then these credentials can be used later. Two ways, either this way or that way, anything is fine. Right. So now here let me go to my dashboard. Now this is my CA job. This CA job is having only one step. The one step is nothing but communicating with the GitHub. My Jenkins is trying to communicate with the GitHub, and it is trying to fetch the code, nothing but this repository. Hello world servlet is repository is trying to clone the code. Right. So let's say now this job, CA job, will not be present or exist in my workspace. So cd var lib Jenkins ls. Now go to the workspace, cd workspace ls. You are going to see as of now we have triggered dev job, QA job, sample, and SAT, right? Because those four I can see here. but not the CA job, because the CA job is not a trigger. Now let's go and click on the CA job and click on the build now. Right, so let's see the console output. So click on the history, or from the drop down you can select the console output. Click on the console output. Now see here, cloning the remote Git repository. Who is going to clone? Our Jenkins server. Our Jenkins server is connected to this repository, and it is cloning into the job called CA job under this particular workspace. And once the code is cloned, now it is given as a success message. These are the commands. So in the background, your Git and Jenkins are going to communicate and going to fetch the latest data from the repository. You can see from which branch, and also you can see the message, latest commit message version, the commit ID, like that. Right. So now let's go and see. Now I go to the server, and now see ls. One more entry will be created with the name CA job, cd CA job. There we are going to see the code of the repository called hello world servlet. Docker, Jenkins file, POM file, readme, Sona, something is there. So let me go to my GitHub, and here let's see Docker, source, Jenkins file, readme, Docker, source, Jenkins file, readme. Like, right, what happened here? My Jenkins is connected with the Git, and whatever the code, the repository I'm having, that code cloned into this particular job. So now whatever the CI/CD process, or whatever the automation, or whatever the actions you are going to take, that will be on this code, not on your repository code. Like now here you can treat this as your workstation, right? So now here how we are going to handle the GitHub, right? We are going to have the repository on the GitHub. On the workstation you are going to clone the code. You are going to get the code into local. On the local you are going to play whatever you want. It is not going to reflect on the GitHub until unless you push the code back. Here also the same. So whatever the CI/CD process you want to trigger, or whatever the actions you want to perform with the help of the Jenkins job, it is not going to directly run on the GitHub code. It is going to run on the code which is present on the Jenkins server. How we are going to present? Simple. With the help of the job, we are going to get the code like this. Now on this code, I am going to play. I am going to run the actions. I am going to run the tasks. Right. So now this is the step. This is the step, guys, to integrate the Git with our Jenkins. Right. So now auto triggering of the jobs. Auto triggering of the job. Right. So now here, as of now, we are triggering manually by clicking the build now option. But when we say continuous integration, when we are saying we are a DevOps, means the process has to be automated. So now you should not trigger manually build now. Automatically the job has to be triggered. How we are going to set up this auto triggering of the job as part of our continuous integration, right? So now for that we require to do two-side changes. Two-side changes are nothing but, right? So now here the changes, two-side means one is the GitHub and the second one is the Jenkins. On the both the sides we need to do the changes from the GitHub side, and we need to do the changes from the Jenkins side, right? Let's see how to what are the changes we need to done. I mean to say we need to do, then how to trigger, how these jobs are going to trigger automatically, right? So now here let's go with the first, nothing but the GitHub side changes. So now I will go to the repository, right? Which job you want to trigger automatically, right? Here I have some list of jobs. If I go to my dashboard, here I have some list of jobs, CA job, dev, QS, right? Which the out of the 6 jobs or 5 jobs, which one you want to trigger automatically? I want to trigger the CA job. Now which repository the CA job is connected. Right? So if I go to the configuration, which repository the CA job is connected. Hello world means you need to do the configuration on the Hello World servlet repository. You should not touch any other repository. You can touch, but what will happen? The jobs are not going to trigger. So whatever the job you are having and which repository the job is connected, on the repository you need to do the changes so that the job will be triggered automatically. Right? For every repository in your Jenkins, you are going to have a separate job repository. Repository wise, you are going to have a separate job. So now you need to do the repository wise changes so that the corresponding job is going to trigger automatically. That's what we need to do. So now here I want to do the auto triggering of the jobs on the Hello World servlet repository. Right. So for that, we need to open the Hello World servlet repository. Then we need to go to the settings, the repository settings. Click on the settings. There we are going to see an option called webhooks. On the settings side, in the left pane, you are going to see an option called webhooks. Select or click on the webhooks. Right. So now here we are going to see the webhooks option. Let me delete the existing one like this. Now you need to add a webhook. So now what the webhook will do? It will poll the SCM, like the notification will be sent to the Jenkins by this webhook. Right. So now here in the webhooks, we need to add a webhook here. By clicking the add webhook button, we can add a webhook to the GitHub. Now we are going to see here it is going to ask you a payload URL. If I click on the URL, payload URL is nothing but we need to provide the webhook information. We need to provide the webhook information. So now what is the webhook information here? Right. So now here this repository has to be connected with your Jenkins server. Right. So now your repository nothing but your GitHub account. Your GitHub has to be connected with the Jenkins server. So now the Jenkins server details has to be provided. Right. So now here what you are going to provide? Here we need to provide the Jenkins server details in the form of HTTP / IP address of the Jenkins followed by the port number / GitHub -webhook. This is the syntax. GitHub -webhook is the standard keyword you have to use. You should not change anything here. Here your Jenkins IP you are going to pass, and here the Jenkins port number you are going to pass. So in this syntax, in this format, we need to provide the webhook so that your GitHub is going to connect your Jenkins server. Okay. So let me take any one of the repository GitHub so that easily you can modify it. So that what it say, we are not going to miss any syntaxical changes here. So let me go to as a whole. On this repository, I don't have any webhooks. Let me go to some other one. Settings. Webhooks. Edit. So now this is the just for to get the syntax, the format. I have taken this repository. Now let me go to our repository. This is the one we are pointing right now. So now go to the repository and go to the settings. Right. So here we need to provide the webhook in this format. Right. This is my Jenkins server IP and port. So here our Jenkins is running on this IP and that is the port. So let me take this one and so I'm going to add GitHub webhook. That's it. Right. So now this is my Jenkins IP and this is the port and followed by the standard syntax called GitHub, keyword called GitHub -webhook. So copy this URL and go to the repository and go to the webhooks of this particular repository. Then go to the click on the add webhook and here enter in the payload URL, right, and scroll down, click on add webhook. Now here you are going to see the a tick means successfully configured. If you are not seeing the green color tick means the webhook is not successfully configured. Okay, right. So now webhook is successfully done on my repository and this repository is connected to my Jenkins job called CA job. Right. Now two side changes. One is GitHub side, the part is done. The second one is Jenkins side. Now let's go to the Jenkins side changes. Go to the job, whatever the job is pointed to the repository, go to the job and go to the job configuration. Right. So now here go to the build triggers option. Here you can see there is an option called GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling. Select. That's it. From the job side, this option has to be enabled. From the GitHub side, we need to add the Jenkins webhook. That's it. Then apply and save. Right. So now I'm not going to trigger my job bill now. Automatically, this job has to be triggered. Right. So now here the question is, the repository will be having different branches. Correct? Every repository will be having different branches like develop branch, master branch, release branch, some other branch. Right now, if the job is going to trigger if the change is pushed to any branch or any specific branch, I need to push the changes. Even if I push the changes to develop branch, the job is going to trigger. Or if I push the changes to QA job, also the job is going to trigger. Or only the develop job, if I push the changes to develop branch, then the job is going to trigger. Right. So now you should not trigger the job if you push any branch. Then the process completely wrong. If the CA job is going to trigger for any branch, then the process is wrong because will be having a different environments, dev, QA, UAT, production. Now the dev job has to be triggered for the dev deployment, nothing but the dev branch. When the code pushed to the dev branch, then your dev job has to be triggered. When the code pushed to the QA branch, nothing but the release branch, then the QA job has to be triggered. Not like for every push, if the case is the same CA job is triggered means the process is not the correct one. It's wrong. Right. So now here we need to point to the branch also. Repository and the branch also has to be pointed. Right. So for that, go to the configuration. Then go to the source code management section. Select. Now here you can see your repository. Under that you are going to see the branch specifier. Right. So now when the job is going to trigger automatically, when the changes are pushed to master branch, then only this job is going to trigger automatically. If I push the changes to develop branch, this job is not going to trigger. That's what the branch specifier. So now here what you will do if you want to create a if you want to if you want to trigger the job when the code push it to the dev branch means simply you are going to point to the develop branch like that. Like that you can change the branches also. Right. So now here I'm not going to change the branch. So I will go with the default, nothing but the master branch. So I'm not going to save it. I'm going to leave it. So go to the configuration and go to the source code management master only. Right. So now here when the developers or someone pushed the code to the master branch, then this job is going to trigger automatically. This is the configuration. That's it. So now let's push the code. Let's try to push the code to the hello world servlet repository to the master branch. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the hello world servlet path, take the path, copy, and I will go to any server. Any server you can take it, right? It's not, it should not, it's not like a separate machine has to be taken, because my requirement is to some code has to be pushed to the master branch. You are going to push from server 1 or server 2, server 3. I'm not going to bother about it. So right, so now here I'm going to take my Jenkins server. From my Jenkins server, I will push the code to the repository. From any server, you can push the code. It's not like a specific instance has to be taken. So now here ls, nothing is there. Now git clone, then the path ls. Now you can see the repository is cloned, right? So now go to the hello world servlet ls, do some changes. So I'm going to do the changes to the readme file. Zero 50072020, some changes, and save it. Process will be the same, no changes. Git status, git add, git status, ask to commit, git commit -m, and readme changes. Which branch I am? Git branch. I am the master. Git status, working tree is clean, right? So now let's, before pushing, go to the job, go, let's as of now build one is there, no other builds, right? So now I will go here and git push to, right, default to default. You don't require to give the full syntax, right? So default, for the default to default, you can use git push. Now username, I'm using the HTTPS mode, that is the reason it is asking the username and password, correct? Then master to master is pushed out. Let's go here. So now the changes are pushed. See, automatically the second entry came. It is pending in the queue. That's it, job done. Right. No manual triggering. Automatically the jobs are going to trigger. This is what we are going to set up on our real time. Right, because you are going to work with many repositories. All the developed jobs should be triggered automatically when the developers are pushed the code. The same configuration, no difference will be there. The same configuration we are going to do, so that the jobs are going to trigger automatically, like this, right guys? So now here, when you want to trigger the jobs automatically, this is the process. So now here I will go to the configuration, then I will go to the build triggers option. I am going to remove this one, so that when there is a change, your job is not going to trigger automatically. I am going to set up poll SEM. Right. So now the poll SEM, what the poll SEM will do? So every 5 minutes, it is going to monitor instead of star suggestion. You can use HR also. That is fine. Anything is fine. Either star or H5. So every 5 minutes, your Jenkins will go and connect with the GitHub, and if any changes are there on the GitHub side, if any new changes came in the span of 5 minutes, then it's going to run the job. Otherwise, the job is not going to trigger. Right. So now this option is a auto triggering of the job. When the moment the code push it to the GitHub, automatically the job is going to trigger without any delay. That's what we have seen right now. This one is nothing but it is not going to trigger immediately. It will be having a time span. So now the time is 1:45. Suppose now the next schedule will be 1:50. in between 145 150 the changes are pushed, it will wait for the 150, then only the job is going to trigger because the changes are came. If there were no changes, the job is not going to trigger. Like that, this poll SCM. Right. So here, add, commit, push. Now changes are pushed. Now this job is not going to trigger immediately. It will wait for the particular time frame. Then only this job is going to trigger. So that's what the poll SCM. Right. So the poll SCM will be the best case will be at the end of the day, I want to see the complete changes, not by pieces by pieces. Right. So whatever the development is done so far from the day morning to end, those changes I want to see in a single shot. So that's what the poll SCM we can set up. Like every day at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, we are going to set up this process so that any changes to the any particular repository, those jobs are going to trigger. Then it's going to give a final output like that. And that's what the poll SCM. The build trigger is nothing but it won't bother about the changes are there or not. Simply it's going to trigger the job. Polling has not run yet. Get polling. Let's see. Till 5 minutes going to run. Okay, this is one option. So then okay. So in the meantime, we'll discuss one more topic here. Right. So here it's a kind of entry question for us. I want to right. So here my code is present in two different version controls. Right. So see here now the third job is triggering. Immediately the job is not triggered. It waits for the 5 minutes of time. Then the GitHub has a communication with the with the Jenkins that I got some changes. So that when the changes are there, then only this job is triggered. Right. So now here this is the immediately triggering of the job or wait for some time and triggering of the job. Right. These two options. So then if I see my job history, there are 3 jobs are there. Now the developer will comes to you and ask you, my changes are not reflecting. Right. So now how we are going to confirm whether the particular changes are deployed or not. Correct. So now here the thing is sometimes not, most of the times we are going to see this kind of issue that he pushed the code. The developer pushed the code to develop branch. Your job also triggered. But the thing is, but the issue is the changes are not reflecting on the dev environment. So then how we are going to confirm whether the changes are deployed or not. So for that, the changes. So click on the changes. So now here it will show you what kind of changes are deployed or what kind of changes are pushed. Right. So now here there are 3 jobs are there. Sorry, 3 entries are there in the build history. The one is executed without any changes. So that is the reason you are not going to see the one. No changes are pushed to the repository for the history 1. The second one, yes, there are some changes. Readme changes are there. The third one, yes, there are again some changes are there. Readme changes. Right. So likewise, it is going to display you the commit message. The commit message of the Git of the repository 1 on the particular build number. Now you can confirm, hey, these are the changes are deployed. So then if the person realize that okay, the changes are not pushed, then they will push it again. Still the changes are reflecting here, but the development not reflecting means we need to see in other way. But from our end, yes, the changes are deployed. This is the confirmation. This is one thing, the changes. So then in our interview point of view, right? So some questions, some topic is there. We'll discuss. Right here, we can see the polling also. I have enabled the poll SCM. Right, the poll log also I can see here. Right. So this is the repository, and you can see some changes it identified, and this is the commit ID. Changes are found. Now here the concept here is I have my code in my GitHub and as well as SVN. Some part of the code in the GitHub server and some part of the code in the SVN. Now here you need to take the code from both the servers into where? Into your Jenkins server. Then go for the job, the CA job, or whatever the execution you want to take it. Now taking the code from two different version control tools. If I go here, if I go to my configuration, source code management, I have the options. Either I can take the Git or the subversion. Not to both. Right. So now here, if I want to take both, how? You can see there is an option called add repository. Nothing but you can add multiple repository of the same Git. You can club multiple repositories. You can add one more repository so that both will be clubbed together, but both will have in the same Git. Likewise, you can add multiple repositories, but here two different version control tools to be added. So for that, by default option is not the suitable one because there is a switch. Either you can take that one or this one, not like both. There some extra plugin is available. With the help of the plugin, you can add multiple version control tools, not with the default provided one. Right. So for that, as I said, everything is a plugin in the Jenkins. Now, once you got the requirement, if you don't find that option in the Jenkins, don't think that the Jenkins is not supporting. Think about any plugin is available for your requirement. Then try to Google it. Your requirement. Find for the plugin. Definitely you are going to find the plugin. 80% of the choice are there. Right. So now here I want to combine two different version control tools. So for that, the default one is not the suitable one. So for that, I am going to add a plugin here. So now to add the plugins, inside the manage Jenkins, you are going to see a option called manage plugins under the system configuration. So click on the manage plugins, right? So multiple ways you can go by clicking the Jenkins dashboard. Let me save it. Any change I have done? Okay, right? Apply and save. Multiple ways you can go to the manage Jenkins part. For that, click on the Jenkins and click on the manage Jenkins and go to the part. Or here you can see a down arrow. Click on the down arrow. You are going to see the drop down. From that you can choose. Likewise. So now here the plugins. This is the section. So now click on the manage plugins. Now here in the plugin section, you are going to see 4 tabs: updates, available, installed, advanced. Right? Updates are nothing but already the plugins are installed on your server. For the plugin, a new feature is launched. Right? So now that is available with some version. But those things can be updated from here. whatever that will be displayed here. Then here they are going to say an option called upgrade, so that the version is going to upgrade. So now here the next one is available, right? So now here whatever the plugins you want to install, those plugins can be installed from the available section, nothing but the Jenkins community. So now here you are going to see all the plugins information in the available section. Then here you are going to see installed. The installed is nothing but whatever the plugins already installed on this server, those information you are going to find in the install section. So these are the plugins already installed. Right. So there are default plugins will be there. Those plugins you are not able to touch, like these plugins. Now the user choice plugins can be removed. If you don't want this plugin, simply can uninstall it. The default ones you cannot touch, but yes, the user choice plugins can be uninstalled like this. And there is one more tab called advanced. Right, in the real time, as part of the security, directly you are not going to connect into the internet to Jenkins server. Right, the internet will not be connected directly to the Jenkins server. Whatever your missions, you are going to use the reverse proxies. You are going to use the proxies. Right, you are going to have a proxy server. By using the proxy server, the internet, your server is going to connect to the internet. Right. So here, if you have the proxy server will be provided by your organization. Now, if you have the proxy server, just you need to provide the server information, so that your Jenkins via the proxy, it will go to the internet security. This is one. Right. So these details will be provided by your organization. You don't need to bother about it. If you have, you are going to use it. Otherwise, leave it. Then if I scroll down here, there is one more option you are going to see, upload plugin. Right. So sometimes the plugins what you are looking is not available in the Jenkins community. By that time, you are going to create, but you means the developers are going to create the custom plugins. Right? Or someone like, or if you are good with the Jenkins, Groovy script, or some other thing, you can also create the plugins. Now, whoever has created the plugins, those plugins need to be uploaded into the Jenkins. Otherwise, you cannot work with the plugin. You cannot use the plugin. Right. So upload the custom plugins. Upload the custom plugins can be done from this section. Upload and choose the file, and what is the plugin, right? You have created the file, you need to select, then upload it. Likewise. So likewise, you can upload the custom plugins from the upload plugin section of the advanced tab. Now let me go to the available section. Then from the available section, I will search for my branch. My branch in the sense, sorry, my requirement. So now here search, click on the search. Multi branch multi-branch pipeline, multi-branch actions, multi-branch, something will be there then. Multiple SCMs. So this is the plugin which we are going to use to integrate two different version control tools. So now here you can see install without restart and download now and install after restart. So I'm going to select this option. Now it is going to download the plugin. So now you can see download successfully, will be activated during the next boot. Means you need to restart your application. So now you can select this option so that the Jenkins is going to restart. The application is going to restart.
In real time also we need to do that.
Sorry.
In real time also we need to do like this. If any plugin we need, so download and we need to restart that.
Yeah, this same process. This is the same we are going to do in the real time also.
Okay,
Because daily you are not going to download the plugins, right? So whenever you require that, by that time only you are going to take the plugins. Daily the plugins download is not the part of our job. Based on requirement, if the plugin is not available, then you are going to take the plugin. Like occasionally you are going to do. Now Shankar and Shankar. Right, now let's go to the job again. CA job, any job, not a CA job. So now go to the configuration. Source code management. Scroll down. You can see new option came with the name multiple SCMs. Now select it, add SCM. You can see 2. So now here I'm going to select the gate. Now the git details has to be provided. Now add one more SCM. Version server. Like that. See here now 2 different version controls can be attached. Gate and as well as sub version. Like that. So like that we can handle multiple version control tools also with the help of Jenkins. But the thing is the plugin. You need to look at the plugin, multiple SCM. Not with the gate. The default one cannot club the different version control rules, but you can add different repositories of the same, but not the different version control tool. So right guys, so this is about like introduction of the Jenkins and working with the Jenkins by creating the change job, build with parameters, and working with the as part of the CA process, connecting with the gate, and from the git side these things. Okay, so the next topics will be covered in our next weekend, in our next class. Okay, so any doubts, please let me know guys. Hello,
Shankar,
any doubts guys?
Shankar, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, tell me.
So with the change jobs, so you mentioned about 2 ways to trigger the change jobs, isn't it? Like with the post build action and then with the build trigger.
Correct.
So which is the preferred
Correct.
way to do it, and which is the most used option, at an organization level or in the real time?
Post build one is the preferred one, Chris.
Oh, okay.
Post build actions one. Whatever we have covered. Yeah, that one is the preferred. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that will go to the script side. I will show you from the script side also. Yes, but it's the post build one only. Yeah.
In
Okay, guys, then
SCM,
I think
hello.
poll SCM, yes.
Is there any syntax for giving the timing? Given only h/5 for 5 minutes, right? Is there any syntax for timing?
Yeah, we have the cron job, the same Linux we already have covered in the cron job, right? The cron job setup in our Linux class. The same syntax only. Okay, so here now you can use the star. Actually, I explained with the star/5. But the suggestion is if you can use the H also instead of star, but you can go with the star also, not an issue. The same Linux cron job syntax only, no difference for the poll SCM or build trigger thing. Okay, the same syntax we can follow.
So, okay, thank you.
So okay, yeah. Anyway, if you are not clear with the cron job, the syntax thing now, anyway, I'm going to cover maybe tomorrow for the Rajesh. So I will share the link also, so you guys can go to that if you want to see the cron job again. I think Rajesh, I think already we have covered, right?
Hi, Shankar. Hello.
Already I think we have covered. We covered the cron job, right? The cron job.
Yeah, we covered on Friday.
Friday, right? Yeah. So the the Linux three I think Vishnu, three or four recording. There you can see the cron job one actually.
I think I will share that. I will share that recording.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, right, guys. Then I will. I think I already shared it. So I will share the link within half an hour. You guys can go through it. Okay. We'll meet on next Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Shankar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shankar.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Bye.